County Board meeting, July 8th. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, today for your many, many blessings. We thank you, Lord, for each person that is in this room tonight. Lord, it looks like on our agenda that we have a full plate. We ask, God, that you will give us the wisdom and the knowledge to get it done. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Earl Baker. Kitty Barr.
Here.
Barbara Bennett. Mark Bennett.
Here.
Teresa Banks. Here. Paul Kennedy.
Here.
Brian Kaufman.
Here.
Dennis Gernovich.
Here.
Jesse Durbin.
Here.
Gary Gergany.
Here.
Rod Height.
Here.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Patrick Lyons. Robert Orman.
Here.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
Gary Piercy.
Here.
John Poe.
Here.
Robert Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Slifer.
Here.
David Switz.
Here.
Don Tate. Lynn Williams.
Here. Okay, everyone had a moment to take a look at the minutes of the last meeting. Last meeting we had was in June. Have a motion by Earl to accept the minutes. Second. Paul Kennedy, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving on, we'll open up the floor for public body comment.
Good evening. My name is Janet Kensel, and I'm here to speak against item number 6, the school resolution. For 35 years, I was a high school English teacher, and since then I have been subbing all the time, so my life has been public education. However, I will freely say that the State Board of Education is far, far from perfect, and I do not like wearing a mask. With that being said, I am still against this resolution because I do not feel the county board should be pulled into it. My reasons are, number one, I feel it's out of the jurisdiction, and that if you make an approval of this, it's pitting this board against all of our local school boards. Secondly, I've heard this resolution called harmless or a ceremonial support of approval, and I don't feel that's the case. If you approve it, people are going to use it as an official document to badger and continue pressuring our school board members. Thirdly, at this time, our school boards do not have local decision in this matter, and I think that's wrong, but that is the current mandate. If the school boards do not follow the current mandates, there are legal and financial repercussions. Insurance is a primary one. If the school boards do not follow the mandates, they lose their insurance and they also lose tort immunity. Without tort immunity, any person can sue the school district and there would be no cap amount. So one lawsuit could break the district and then send the cost to the taxpayers. Without tort immunity, all school board members are personally liable, and we're asking them to jeopardize or put at risk their homes and businesses. Without tort immunity, all school employees are personally liable, and you're asking us to put our homes at jeopardy. Another reason is that some schools are now starting to challenge the State Board of Education and the governor. And I say go for it. Let them be the rebels and let them be the cowboys, so to speak, and let them deal with the repercussions. Because the repercussions that are being spun out there are closing the doors, pulling their accreditation education, cutting their funding, and denying grants, in particular the pre-K grant that many families in our districts need. Last week I spoke with Derek. We had a very civil discussion, which we should, and I asked him to please pull this item off the agenda. I said I thought it was safest for the board not to even have to address it, because addressing it means you're now in the middle between frustrated parents and equally frustrated board members, and you can't win. So Derek, I'm asking you again to please pull this agenda item. If he won't, which I respect, but if he won't, I'm asking the rest of you to please vote no in order to keep the county board out of this controversy. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public body comments?
Hi, I was here at the last meeting, and Mrs. Crumpy asked me to go to the zoning board to get a petition. The gentleman, I don't know if anybody's here from zoning?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He wasn't over there.
Well, I'm getting circled. I mean, I actually I went to the courthouse to talk to Jessica because I didn't know where to go. He has no idea what petitions are, as he had 3 in front of him in front of his desk. But that's another story. But I'm supposed to get a petition so that I can be on the agenda, so that my whole neighborhood can come and speak. So somebody has to get together here. So I stopped getting shuffled around, because I'm just getting shuffled around and pushed over here and pushed over there. And I just like an answer. I would like to get the petition that I need so I can get the people to sign it. So we do not have a campground in my front yard of 2 trailers. So could we please get some, please find out how I can get that petition.
My understanding is if they violate the zoning ordinance, they're going to be written up and they're going to be taken to court, but we can't write up zoning violations if they haven't done it yet, unfortunately. It'd be like charging someone with a crime before they committed the crime.
Okay, but you asked me to get the petition to stop it before they do that, because once they do it, it's done. And once they do it, it's done, it's done. I can't change it.
They would be in violation of the law if they do it.
Nobody's doing anything now, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm getting shuffled around, I'm getting pushed over here, I'm getting pushed over here. I want to be in the middle. I actually went to the courthouse to talk to this. She's actually wonderful, she actually talked to me, and she doesn't understand why I can't get a petition. He pulled one off the screen that was already signed. And he says, I can't give you this when it's signed. I'm like, why would you even consider giving me one that's signed? I want one that's empty. I want one I can have signed so that we can stop it before it starts. Because once it starts, it's going to be horrible. Thank you.
Can I address that?
Yes.
Okay, for one, the petition that she's talking about, that the zoning board or the zoning administrator would give, is after a violation has been committed, or the guy or the person that wants it, like if he wants to, let's say, rezone it to general business and we start sending it through the planning committee and board of appeals, we can provide a petition at that time because we know what he wants to do. Right now, you can't have a petition to sign when all the guy has done is put rock in his yard. He has to violate the ordinances before.
Why are they telling me to get one?
I don't know why.
I was at the last meeting. It's probably on video. It's all in the minutes. So I'm
As
tired
far
of
as
being
what I've seen
concerned.
on my computer, when I've talked to my predecessor, the petition comes when they're petitioning against something that we're trying to either change the status from residential to general business, or he violated something, and since none of that's happened.
But it is. The house is being rented out as a cabin.
We have no zoning ordinances for that. in this
It's
county.
rented out through a business. We're residential. Do you understand that? That's where the point is. It's already started.
So far, he's only put rock in his yard, that's it.
No, you don't understand. There's a house there that they're renting out as a cabin through a business. And we talked to the guy who owns the house, and he says, oh, I wasn't planning on putting a campground there. But that right there, that was his first 2 words out of his mouth. And he says, and I'm letting, I won't say any names, letting him rent it out for me because it's just easier for me. So is he paying taxes on this, or who wins? I mean, right now, here we got,
He's done VRBO, we have nothing to regulate that.
he's already done it through a business, and it's residential.
My name is Carol Cole, and I'm here with my husband Jake as concerned citizens about the Shelby County Poor Farm. As most of you probably know, the farm was purchased in 1867 for $9,060. It's worth considerably more now, and we've heard that maybe the board would like to sell it and pursue it. In 1925, my grandparents, Ben and Dina Poole, moved to the Shelby County Poor Farm as superintendents with their 3 children. Helen Poole Fernhaver, who was 18 at the time, Woodrow Poole, who was 13, and my mother, Rita Price, who was 4. So my mother lived there until 1940, when my grandparents left the poor farm and moved back to their farm in Kirby. I've been to the coffee shop a lot in the last few weeks, and I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of farmers. Nobody has a desire to sell this farm. There's a lot of history with that farm. Although there are no buildings there anymore, there's beautiful property. Last Sunday, we drove to the farm. It was mowed very nice, the lane. I don't know who does it, but thank you very much. The lane was nice, and the lane took us up to the cemetery on the terrace. And there's one tombstone at that cemetery that we found. As we walked the entire length of the cemetery, we thought maybe we could find more stones. And Jake did uncover something that looked like a stone, but the ground was so hard, we couldn't really do anything about it. But it was mown perfectly too. It was absolutely gorgeous. So as I'm looking out over the terrace and thinking about my grandparents and my mother being on that farm, and thinking about all the history, why would the board want to sell it?
Are you done? Are you continue to kind of work? Sir,
You know what my name is, don't you? Okay. Okay, yeah, okay.
what is it, madam?
Don't you guys sell that farm? You want me to get louder? Do not sell that farm. I'll grant you, you're going to get a bundle of money for it if that happens. But then it's going to be gone. That money's going to be gone. That farm's going to be gone. If you would have farmed it like you should have this year, instead of this bull-headed nonsense that's been going on, you could have got some income from it, and you'll get income for God knows how many years in the future. Do not sell that farm.
Martha Fernhaver, Shelby County citizen. I understand the passion. Carol mentioned my grandmother, Helen Poole Fernhaver. I get the passion. I get the passion of farmers. I truly do. You got to do what's legal, and there is no public purpose for that farm ground. There's not. There's been none stipulated. Giving cash rent to a farmer is one person, not public service. At some point, we have to remove the emotions. I'm taking the emotions out of my grandmother right now and trying not to tear. But at some point, we have to follow statute. We have to follow law. If we don't like the statutes the way they're written today, start fighting in Springfield, get them rewritten and get them done. But we got to follow what's on the books and on the statutes. Today, we've been dealing with this for well over a year in this county. And there's some folks here tonight that haven't been here for meeting after meeting after meeting in this discussion. Either find a public purpose or sell it, one or the other. That's just my ask.
Sir.
You know, we've already talked about it, or maybe the Edgewood County Hospital was talking about $27,000 in income, which would have been mostly profit for the county. We had a couple of farmers, our average bid for farmer was, average was $45,000. They would pay the taxes. Instead of, if you wanted to sell something, the plan would be low, not only sit and let it grow up in grass and wood. This doesn't make any sense. That farmers accumulated, and that was at least $1.5 million since they started farming. Not only that, that's been a big Shelbyville cash cow, or Shelby County cash cow. It was not only how much it's appreciated, but it's how much they've taken in every year off the farm on the lease. So if money's gone, and somebody's gonna blow it, and we're gonna have nothing. It seems like to me, it would be, you're trying to force one of the best things that ever happened to Shelby County, the water.
Well, I'm Margaret Davison, citizen. I don't care whether you sell it or you farm it, do it legally and constitutionally. The whole government system is breaking down because we're selling out, not doing the right thing. That Amber Overtime says, make the right choice. Make the right choice, the legal choice. We've got to start cleaning things out and doing things legally here. So if you sell it, do it legally. If you farm it, do it legally. That's all I ask. Thank you.
So who said it's illegal? Is our Shelby County State's Attorney said it's illegal?
There's no public purpose.
Where's your proof of it being?
I'm not going to argue.
I don't understand.
Show the proof that it is legal. That's where it stands, Jay. Show the proof that it is legal. It's not
I've been
argument.
for 50 years, all around.
But just because you did it for 50 years, it's not done legally.
Move on. We have a gentleman stand up here in the back right here.
My name's Tim Moore. I'd like to talk about the board more in detail a little bit. My problem with me selling it is the fact that we look across the country, we see all these statues being taken down, our history being removed. You sell the board farm, we remove our history. It may not be rosy, but it is our history. It's how we compare it. Now, if you have a problem with how it's being used, change the use. Don't drop it into the general fund. Make it go to the poor. Give it to the food banks, do something like that. And if you have a problem with how it's leased, put it in a lease to where part of it goes to the taxes. You can take it all and fix it with a few words.
If it's illegal for us to own it, I would assume it's illegal for us to sell it and profit from it. Would that be right?
Negative. In the statute, it directly says that the county has authority to sell or convey. That is a direct statute.
It also says there's authority to lease.
Pardon?
It also says that there is authority to lease.
Thank you.
The annotated version of the Constitution for legislators on page 127 specifically states that the lessee must have a public purpose.
And I've provided authority as to what the public purpose is, through my own opinion, through the Attorney General opinion, and through a law firm that has been contracted with by the Illinois Public Prosecutor's Office. That is my opinion.
Sir.
My name is Benny Clausen. I lived out there from 52 to 63. I want to know about the cemetery. Can you legally sell a cemetery?
It's a good question. I don't know that answer.
It's over the veteran area.
Also, why sell something that is making money for the county? That is the stupidest thing I've heard of. You sell it, we don't get money from it, taxes are going to raise and everything else. Let's use it. Put bids out there for the farmers. When was the last time the bid was made on that place? On farming, it's got to be done in November, October, November, December. Was something issued at that time or not? And is that the reason why it wasn't farmed this year?
Any other public body comment?
I'm Barbara Kirk, and I lived on the county farm for many years. I grew up there from almost birth to 17 years. My dad farmed the ground, and my brothers spoke of the cemetery. I worry about that because one of these days, that cemetery is going to just completely disappear. There are many people buried there. What I would like to see is for somebody to see about putting a stone up and possibly a small fence around it to commemorate all those souls that were lost and buried there. Now, whether you sell it or not, I would like it to not be sold. I would like for it to continue the way it has been. I don't know why you didn't lease it out and have it farmed last year. Since I don't live here, I'm not quite as familiar with things. But I do know that it is a very important part of the history of Shelby County. And I'd like to see that saved.
Anybody else? Bruce?
My name is Bruce Denke. I'm here to represent Shelby County Economic Development. I understand that the chairman has on the agenda number 18 going to request withdrawing from helping with payment to a economic development employee. And I would ask you all to vote against that and vote to continue to support economic development in Shelby County. Thank you.
Just to clarify that agenda item, more or less, there's 11 to 13 members on this board that have been brought in the last 24 months. I'm questioning where our stance is on economic development, benefit to the county. We're putting $12,000 plus or minus dollars into it every year. What is the county, what does the economic development do for the county besides change the tax infrastructure a little bit? It was more of a conversational piece, but in order to take action, I put a stance on it. When we get into the agenda, I would like to bring that towards the top. And if there's more input, we could have this, when we get into discussion, have more input if you hang around. I don't know if you want to leave or not, but that was more of a discussion and education, either to discontinue or turn it down and continue. But part of that discussion is going to be, we're putting a little in and we're getting little bits done on the EDC. Well, if we put more in, we get more out. So that's part of that conversation. We'll get to that later on.
Thank you.
Any other public body comment here?
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I'm a citizen. And I just want to say, it's great that all these people are here. And I come every month, and it isn't all these people. And if this many people will come every month to get the continuous flow of what's going on, I think it would help everybody. Because they see what's on the agenda, they'll come for one thing. But like the farm, that's been going on for over a year, and I think they would have been here every month listening to all this, it would make a lot more sense. So I wish more people would come to every meeting. It would help the whole county out.
Sir.
I'd like to say something to that. I'm 46 years old. I've lived in Shelbyville my whole life. The barn stuff this week is the first week I've heard anything about it. How's that possible? In 46 years, I've never heard anything about a farm. I grew up in this town. My grandpa was a farmer. I didn't know anything about this farm. I just recently learned about it. And to me, it's ridiculous that we're trying to say stuff in the park right now, for historical reasons, but we're not going to save a farm for historical reasons. What's up with that? It's all about history. History. That's all I've ever heard in 46 years I've lived in this town. History. And now you guys are talking about selling the farm that obviously means quite a bit to people. So why would you do that without more discussion? I know you've been discussing it for a month, but the public, I'm here. Here's my thing. I've never heard about it, and I consider myself pretty active about knowing what's going on in Shelbyville. And that's the first I've heard You know, I know a lot of people in Shelby. You know, I made a comment about the Chicago building, trust me, I heard from many people about that. So, but why are you getting rid of something that obviously means something to so many people? I just, you know, and it doesn't cost anything, like you're saying. It's not like it's going to cost the county a ton of money to upkeep this farm. It's not. They're actually going to make money off of it. And I think that would be good for the county. I just think, you know, so I have family in this town. I want to stay in this town. I work in Decatur. I make the drive every day. But I'm going to stay in Shelbyville. And I don't understand why you guys want to save certain things and get rid of other things. I understand the Verde Group's thing that it's not legal. Do something to make it legal. Can we make it legal?
I can't change it. Springfield can change it.
But can they change it?
Talk to Springfield.
Can there be stuff done to make it legal? That's my question.
Public purpose. Public purpose.
Public purpose is it raises money for the county.
Government is not in the business of making money. That's not what governmental industry is. That's what private industry is.
But has the county made money off that farm? And if they have, what has that money been spent towards? Has it been spent something in this town or in this county to make it better for the public? If it has, that makes it a public purpose. That's all I got to say.
I'm sorry to disrespect, but it does not make it a public purpose because the county makes quote-unquote money on it. The county paid taxes that the county should not legally have paid taxes for years. And when the county pays those taxes, that affects every single one of us. That does not make it a public purpose to make taxes. And as Derek Piercy has done his research, and as Margaret said and Derek has said, from a constitutional standpoint, I am addressing the argument. If the government can own land and farmland and own it, what prevents them from purchasing more land that takes away from other farmers in the area to farm to raise money for their families and whatnot? There is no public purpose, and government is not in the business of making and turning a profit. That's not what government is
But I don't
to do.
think we're talking about government, we're talking about Shelby County.
Shelby County is a governmental
That's what we don't care less about it.
We had a long meeting, Speed when called on, we're in our meeting. I failed to say this earlier. Speed when called on when we're in a meeting, we don't need to talk over each other at the board. And please, one at a time back here to go to public comment. Is there any more public body comment? Jeremy.
Mr. Chairman, there are three brief things I want to say, and I promise I'll be brief. I think there's a slight discrepancy or misunderstanding in some statute concerning some things in the sheriff's department recently. We have a new acting sheriff, and I think there's been a push to change his pay. And I just want the board to know that statute says the board sets compensation. If he's going to be paid more to be acting sheriff, the board needs to amend that and pay him more. But he can't decide that he's going to be paid more. The treasurer can't just pay him more. The state's attorney, the board chairman, the clerk, whoever can't just decide this person should be paid more. That's to be decided by the board. And I think we've had some push to just arbitrarily, unilaterally give him more money. But that decision lies in the purview of the board. Second thing is there's an item on the agenda about collecting insurance misrepresentation money. Some people have referred to it as theft or fraud, and I don't know what the appropriate term is there. I just want to encourage the board to do everything they can to recover the $34,297.01 that was illegally made away with by a former county employee. The other thing, for over a year the county's been talking about the farm. And so many people had showed up, and I agree with Sharon, that's great to see, and I wish it was that way all the time. So many people have showed up on an evening when it's not even on the agenda. But I've spoken with all the individuals who voted not to lease the farm this year, and they don't really want to sell it. They'd rather find a legal way. So some of you who would like to see it kept and would like to see it farmed, I would encourage you to work with your local government, because government and people are supposed to work together. I'd encourage you to work with your government to find a way to make it legal. If it's not going to be legal, then there's no point in holding on to it. I heard a couple of ideas on public purpose. I think it would be nice to have those fleshed out a little more, see if they can be explored. But the annotated version of the state constitution, Article 8, Section 1, states that even the use to which the land is put has to be a public purpose. So not just making money, it's actually what is done with the land that has to serve the public directly. So making money to be used for something else later doesn't constitute a public purpose. That's not direct. So it's very important to understand that about the issue. We have to have a public purpose if we're going to farm it. That's constitutional. That's not even statute that comes out of Springfield. That's built into our state constitution. So I just wanted to clarify some of that. Thank you.
How do you know the amount of
We don't even know. Off the public,
How did you know the amount was not on the agenda?
As far as I'm aware, it's become public knowledge.
Where did you find it? Well, it's on the ordinance.
We don't even know.
Do you think? I'm not going to disclose my sources.
Something wrong here, so.
Yeah.
You just said it's on public, so.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you get it?
But I'm not going to tell you my source. I'm not going to disclose my source.
So we have a legal account, is that what you're doing?
Well, there's nothing wrong with a FOIA. That's perfectly legal.
I said, we have a legal accounting then, is that what you're telling me?
I'm not telling you where it came from. It might have come from in the county. It might have come from somebody sitting out here.
Same thing, Jeremy, you told me about the animal control truck. I didn't find that out because you told me.
Find out about the animal control truck?
Told me on the animal control truck.
Well, I saw the agenda, the tentative agenda at the time, and I just texted you to ask you a question.
Before this meeting,
Yeah.
Where'd you get the tentative agenda?
It was posted on Facebook, several places.
Need a vote advice on
My name is Samantha Cohan, and I am a mom of 4 boys. And I have 3 currently that are going to be attending school this year. And I want to discuss the item number 6 for the optional children for school, basket for children in school. I have a little boy. Last year, he has special needs and he is medically complex. He was given a doctor's note saying he could not wear a mask because he has a lung disease. He only has 1 lung. The one he did have was removed at 5 days old. And the same disease that took his left lung is now his right. So he is physically not able to wear a mask. The school system denied him education last year. And they are denying him education again this year. Sorry. Oh. I want. Sorry. They are trying to deny him education again this year. And I don't know how many other parents that have children like mine that, and not just here, but other counties that are being denied education because of their inability to wear masks. And from my understanding and what I've worked with several different advocate groups, I have got the American Disabilities Act lawyers involved now because from my understanding, ISB wrote guidelines last year stating that children that had a doctor's note stating that they could not wear masks were supposed to be in schools. They cannot deny them education. And they've done it last year, and they're doing it this year to
I feel like with him making this optional, it will help ease the burden on not only myself and other parents that are having to make these decisions of fighting the school system, trying to get their kids in there without masks. And I feel like it just boiled down to last year, they didn't want one child in that school not wearing a mask because they know would open up the door for all these other parents. They just want to accommodate one kid. And I'm not saying that my child is better or more special than any other children that were in that school, but he has a right to an education. And the school system took that from him. And so I feel like if they can make this optional for children that, like mine or others that can't tolerate masks, then it would be beneficial.
Thank you. On that same subject, that's my grandson. And what you said earlier, I totally agree with you on a lot of aspects that you said. It's what teachers are having to go through with this is, I don't even want to think what they have to go through. But when this little son, an emotion, comes up to us and has to explain he can't be normal and go to school like normal kids do. Man, come on. Let's make it optional. You know, it should be up to a parent. It should be up to us if we want our kid to wear a mask. Plain and simple. It's our kid.
I just want to say this, the next Shelby County or Shelbyville School Board meeting is a week from tonight. I believe it starts at 7. Somebody else might be able to correct me. But I came in with one opinion, and after Janet spoke and listening to her and her background and experience in it, she changed my mind. It's not up to this board. They can't control the Illinois State Education Board. Next Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Shelbyville High, I think 7 o'clock, correct me, 7 o'clock, that's where you need to make your appearance. That's the board you need to pound on, in my humble opinion.
Okay, but we're here speaking because it's on the agenda.
I totally understand. I'm just saying, just remember, the second Thursday of the month, every month, is the school board meeting.
Sir. My name's Corey King. I'm a citizen. It's on the same subject with the mask. My thing is, any support, I agree with kind of what you're saying, that any support from your board or anybody's board would help out the whole system and put pressure on the school board to do the right thing and take the mask away. That's my opinion.
I just have one more thing. Am I ever going to get an answer? I just want an answer. That's all I want. I already told you it's already done illegally, and nobody's listening to me, and I am tired of this. I pay big taxes where I live, and I should not have to be thrown around like a rag. I need to be heard, and I need this taken care of now, and I'm tired of being told to go here, to go here, to go here. And I know this is my thing, but I'm sick of being thrown around. And there's a lot of people on this board that should probably be listening to me. If it wasn't me, I brought a whole neighborhood here last time I was here. So they don't want to come until they're on the agenda. But I seem to not be able to get on the agenda. So I can bring them back and we can get this taken care of. That's all I'm asking, is an answer. I'm here for an answer. Of course it's.
No, more than.
He's not here.
When's the next zoning committee meeting? Does this have to do with the county ordinance? So that we can get it right now. Should we schedule one for updated ordinances? Do something, or we at least have the committee meeting on it? No, this would be Bill's here, we schedule a committee meeting. You guys work that out?
And then where do I find when the meeting's going to be and where is it on?
you asked, you thank you for standing. Maybe I'll stand.
Okay.
But anyway, they've got your number, is that correct?
Yeah, he just said he's got ours.
Okay, so both you two are in tune, so you do have the number, so we can work on this.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want. just
All I
wanna
want
make
is an
sure.
answer, that's it.
I know what you want to do, but we just need, first of all, make sure that where we have contact
Okay.
and your voice.
I didn't realize he had all, that's, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Janet, may I clarify something?
Yes.
Your story, your life is heart-wrenching, and I don't know which school district you're talking about, but one phone call to ISB will take care of that because they cannot keep the child at home and available. Okay? And I'd also like to say that it's nice to announce when the school board meeting is, anyone can go, but pounding the school board members won't fix this because they don't have the power to fix it. That's been my point. They don't have the power. It goes to the Capitol to Springfield.
So who we pay? Tell them who we pay.
That I can't answer. I don't know if, I'm throwing Brad Halbrook under the bus. He's at a meeting in Effingham tonight. I don't know if he could give you that information, but until Governor Pritzker allows it to be local access, and ISB reports to Governor Pritzker.
Is the Illinois State Board of Education?
ISB, ISBE is the Illinois State Board of Education. It's a regulatory agency, and they work at the hands of the legislators and the governor. So pounding the school board members, you can pound them until they're on the pole, but they cannot change this until they're granted access. Yes, yes. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Sir.
Is there anybody on the board that I can talk to about the county farm? That knows the rules and regulations and what's going on?
Mark, Jesse. I think
Our state's attorney has all rules about the farm. Jesse can tell you about the farm, she can tell you about the law.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item number 5, I'd like to announce the vacancy of the office of Shelby County Sheriff due to retirement of Sheriff John Booth on June 25th, 2021. Do we need a motion to accept the vacancy? Gary seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to item 6, Derek Piercy.
I want to address what the resolution is and what it's not, okay? I kind of agree with everybody's points that are here. It's something that's affecting all the families in the entire county, not just my district, but everybody's districts here. It's been a major concern for a lot of parents, students, kids, grandparents, teachers as well. This is not a law, it's not a rule, it doesn't have any legal authority, and it's not telling schools what they have to do by any means. So don't go to the schools and say, the county said you have to do this. That's not what this is, to clarify. Okay? And you're going to find actually that most of the schools are going to agree with what you're saying too. This is not against the schools. This is actually for the schools. They're in agreement with you. Okay. So this is just a statement of support that we agree with you as parents, students, that they should have choices. Something, I mean, when you see something wrong, everybody's got two choices. You can do nothing or you can do something. This is just us saying something, that we observe something that's not quite right. This isn't going to solve the problem, this thing. This is just a statement, and we're supporting them and they're whatever they have to do, okay? It's just acknowledging that problem. So, you want me to go ahead and read through all this, Mr. Chairman? It's entirely up to you. Okay, I'll go quick. Okay, so it's Shelby County Protection of Children's Rights and Optional Mask in Schools. Whereas the governor continues to make emergency declarations and issues executive orders, it's recognized that the legislature is the only lawmaking body capable of enacting laws upon citizens. Considerations given to the CDC, ISBE, and IDPH suggestions. All local decisions should be made by local government and as outlined in state statute. Whereas multiple vaccines have been readily available to our most vulnerable population, to anyone who chooses to receive them, while school-age children remain the least at risk according to all national and state statistics, with no sufficient data provided to support children are at risk without masks. Whereas Shelby County does not meet the definition of a disaster in 20 ILCS, meaning a threat of widespread injury or loss of life. Whereas the 690.50 JCAR mask mandate authorizing schools to enforce masks was repealed on May 17th, removing all enforcement against schools, teachers, or students. Whereas 105 LCS does not allow enforcement of masks based on dress code policies. Whereas the suggestions set forth are arbitrary in nature, allowing children to enter any private businesses, public facilities, parties, gatherings, and even close contact sports without a mask, and other states are simultaneously prohibiting mask mandates in schools. Whereas the FDA has only authorized mask use under emergency use authorization. And whereas it's important to recognize the importance of mental health in children of younger ages, social development, and there's unknown negative physical and mental effects of prolonged mask use wearing. Whereas no achievable metrics or timelines have been established allowing teachers and students to return to normal without masks, leaving the possibility of indefinitely. Whereas the potential long-term effects of mask use in children is unknown, may compromise their health and safety, and recognize that each parent has the authority to make health decisions based on their family's needs. Whereas the United States Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 1 reads, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws. Our children do not need to be deprived of their liberty and equal protection of laws. Therefore, be it resolved, the Shelby County Board would support the families of the county, children, parents, teachers, schools, that they should have the freedom of choice to make masks optional in schools." And I have one question for an individual in this room. For Mr. Malega from the Health Department, I just want to get your opinion on these statements and if you have anything else to add.
I think as long as we don't have a widespread community infection, I think it's time to go back to normal. And this is a good start. And I think that even though it's a resolution, it's more of a proclamation than I would think. And I think it shows principles that, that life's not perfect. We have issues such as this person, which I think that the person that has a medical excuse should be able to go to school with a doctor's written excuse. And I think that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. But something the health department has talked about, superintendents and everything through the entire pandemic, has been that school administrators do run the schools, and they are responsible for their decisions. And health department, county board, that we offer guidance and direction, that ultimately still comes down to their decision.
All right, thank you.
I just have one comment that I'd like to make, and that is, while I would completely agree with the county board has nothing to do with ISBs or our local school boards, I would like to remind everybody that in April and May of last year, we adopted a resolution that supported businesses reopening. Although we didn't shut them down, we supported a resolution to reopen those businesses. Furthermore, we passed a resolution just a few months ago to Springfield that was not in support of wind farms, I believe. So passing resolutions in support of or not in support of is something that says the board is supporting the county, the people, the board are supporting something in a movement. That's all it says. So that's all I have to say.
I guess if I get a motion in a second.
Motion. Pat Line makes the motion to approve the resolution. Earl Baker seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. What?
I do have one, I guess, comment. I'm like you, I would like to see this happen. I don't think we have the power to make it happen. I would be very happy to sign petitions, whatever needs to be done to go to Springfield and make it happen. I would have no problem signing something simple that just said, we support the school board and the parents to have the right to get past this. But to go into this much detail, I guess I feel like we don't have that much power.
Nicole, could you draw something up that would be, that would be something that would be fine?
Well, it depends what you would want to sign. It would be symbolic.
It is symbolic, that's what this is.
Like you mean a letter or like Gary suggested?
That's the big one I'm talking about is the board.
You can drop any resolution the board would bless.
I'm talking about Nicole, not you, Earl, okay?
Yes, I can drop any, I'll do that for any board member.
Okay.
If you request it.
Okay, let me think about this.
Jerry, I've got teachers in the family, my wife and I both retired families, or teachers. Just Friday, I think it was, this was handed to me, came from the superintendent in this area. It's a list of 231 school superintendents, administrators to the Illinois Department of Education, requesting that it be a local decision. There's at least 4 regional superintendents that signed on it. Ours has, it's got Mattoon, there's 20-some right here in our area. Windsor's on it, Cowden's on it. My daughter-in-law teaches here in town, and I got a call from a group of teachers here stating that, well, they were afraid our vote was going to be to not request local control on this, that it was going to be from the state, from Chicago. There's an awful lot of people in education that are supporting the fact that schools should be able to make those decisions. The family talking about a child with a disability. My last 27 years, I worked in special education with children. I had a respiratory problem. I had to wear a mask, just what little I wear. And, I take medication to deal with that problem, and then I wear a mask because it is a problem. So I'm glad it's over for me. And the comment the other day, I was told that there's a high outbreak of COVID in school-aged children, and I've been looking. I can't find that. Do you know of any, Steve? Do you know of any reports showing school-aged children with a skyrocketing is the term we choose? No, it's a serious disease. I understand that. But I think we've overreacted in a lot of areas. And, but anybody wants to look at this list, I'd be glad to let you look at it. But 231 and at least 4 in that are regional superintendents. Our regional superintendent has signed it. I think the only one in the immediate area that their school hasn't signed it is Shelby.
No, they did.
Huh?
They did.
Is it in there? I missed it.
It was recently added.
Okay, all right, so I will correct that. That one I overlooked.
It's really to you. Now, we've had a person that you stated that you would like something to be written up.
Think about,
and then we have a motion. So we've got 2 different entities going here, and
We have a motion on the floor.
so we're gonna have to vote either way.
Yes. Yeah.
Vote.
He just asked if there was any comments or discussion.
Okay.
We're still in discussion.
Okay, I talked to the president of the school board in Shelbyville, and I talked to another school board member this last week. As far as I know, and I talked to one of them yesterday, there has not been a decision by the state for the mask for the fall, when the kids go back to school. But the other part of this is the funding part of it that is tied to the mask issue. And it's the pre-K program and the special ed program and stuff. And our schools do not have funding. If they go against this and don't follow it and the state pulls the funding, those programs will go away.
Sure, and this resolution doesn't have any direct effect or...
I understand that, but that is my concern, and I'm not so sure that it's this board's place to do this.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a past school board member of District 122. And what we need to realize is that the school board is representing the students and the parents. And this, what I read here is we're representing the students and the parents by approving this. Too much bureaucracy. What I see in school union, teachers unions dictating, we can see what they're doing in the Chicago system, and we do not want them to start dictating down here. This is a motion that needs to be approved for the benefit of our kids. And then we'll deal with the other issues when the state tries to pull funds, because the state has a responsibility to pay to support education.
Derek, back over here.
I think it was Mr. Patterson. So the structure of the resolution, like you said, need to be shorter. But all the whereas statements that are in this is the reasons for the resolution. The thing that you're actually passing, or the statement that you're making, is just therefore be it resolved at the bottom. So if you're looking for a short statement of what it is you support, that's what that is. All this stuff up here is just the reasons for that statement, basically. So this isn't part of what we're passing up here. It's just this bottom statement, really. So that's all it is.
And I would be totally in favor if you change this to where we just had that bottom statement only. I'd be 100% behind it.
That is the only
Make it
statement.
nice and simple.
Yeah, that is the only statement that would be passing to the bottom.
I don't make that statement this big. That's what I will see on there.
Well, I wanted to ask the lady back here what she said about tort and liability and stuff, and refer that to our legal counsel, see what she said. Is that right?
What Janet said is 100% accurate. Schools could lose their tort immunity, they can lose their grants. Shelbyville School District gets over $2 million, received over $2 million of grants just in 1 year. And the pre-K program is supported 100% by grants. So what Janet said was very well spoken, and she is 100% accurate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So, I just got to make a point of clarification. This is a supporting resolution for choice. If the school board locally makes a choice to go against ISD, that is their choice. And they will incur the punishment, the wrath, if you will, of what they do. We're just, as a board, saying we support them in having a choice. Now, if they act on it, that's their business. That's their board. You know, if they choose to make a choice to go against ISD, that's their choice. If they choose to go with ISD, that's their choice. So, just a point of clarification. Somebody shot their hand up right as I started to speak.
Call the question. Do we have a roll call on this?
Sure. Go ahead, call the question. Any other discussion of the board?
I'd like to know, Janet, if any more comment after what she said. I've known her for a long time.
May I, Bobby?
Go ahead.
My complaint is a resolution that goes against our local board members for our local school districts. These are our community members, they're our friends, they're our neighbors, and they're caught in a terrible situation. And this just puts more pressure on them to go against ISB when legally right now they can't do that. So that's why I got involved in this. Does that answer your question, Bob? Thank you.
I sat on school board for 20 years, we never ever had Shelby County Board bring in any kind of resolution. So I would feel kind of offended by doing that. I think they should run their own thing.
Well, that's what this resolution supports. Running their own.
It does not support the board. It's putting pressure on the board to do what, I'm sorry, frustrated parents want. And I am very sorry. Your issue is horrible. But this resolution pressures the school board to fold and go against the law.
No, all it does is tell the school board that there is an county that is supporting whatever the school board decides. Is it putting a little bit of pressure on the school board to go our way? Yes. But what it is saying is, hey, the county will back you if you guys decide to go this way. That is all the resolution does.
Is the county board going to back the school district if there becomes a financial issue?
We're not taking any financial stance.
And there is no mask law. No law was ever passed about that.
That was the executive order, Pat, and I've said that was wrong. And I don't know what he's
It
going
was
to
an
do with the
illegal
law.
executive order because it was after the 90 days citizen emergency declaration.
I actually called you a question earlier. So all in favor, say
Can you ask the roll?
roll call, sorry.
You got it.
Earl Baker.
Yes.
Kenny Barr.
No.
Barbara Bennett.
No.
Mark Bennett.
No.
Teresa Bain.
No.
Paul Candidate.
Yes.
Brian Kaufman.
Yes.
Dennis Durnovich.
No.
Jesse Durbin.
No.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
No.
Pat Lyons.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
No.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
John Poe.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
No.
Jeff Slifer.
No.
David Switz.
No.
Don Tate.
No.
Lynn Williams.
No.
Motion fails 9 ayes to 13 nays.
Next on the agenda, item 7, Earl Baker, you may, committee chair, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, we've got Kelly talk about some of the things that we helped us out with. I'll let you have the floor.
Okay, Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly? I'm sorry, Mr. Lockhart, your first name's Kelly. Executive Director of Coles County Regional Planning and Development Commission to apply for funds on Shelby County's behalf for the hazard mitigation planning grant. If you would, take the floor.
Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm with Coles County Regional Planning. Back in 2016 and 2017, we wrote a hazard mitigation plan with the help of steering committee members from Shelby County. And this is kind of a FEMA directive that went into place about the year 2000. FEMA basically said if you want to get FEMA dollars, you have to have a FEMA hazard mitigation plan in place. So Shelby County didn't have one for a number of years. We wrote a grant, received the grant, and they pretty much just hand them out if you request it. But we wrote the grant and got it and wrote the plan. The plan identifies risks and hazards in the county, and then you have to find ways to reduce what could happen in the event of one of these hazards. Those could be tornadoes, flooding, earthquakes, terrorism, and pandemic, which obviously we've been through that. FEMA, they did ask us to go ahead and, so actually Illinois Emergency Management Agency requested that we go ahead and submit the grant on behalf of Shelby County. And then come to the board, and they will withdraw it if you guys don't approve of it. But we wrote a grant to update the plan. It has to be updated every 5 years. The grant amount is $22,252.50. Shelby County would provide $7,417.50 in match, but that's in-kind match, no out-of-pocket expenses. So the time spent with the steering committee, members of the community, whether it's fire departments, police departments throughout the county, their time is the match. So we just have to document they spend 10 hours on this or that. And so again, it has been submitted by EMA. If approved, we'll probably start sometime in fall, I'm guessing. Takes them a few months to get them approved. We did submit Moultrie County a couple months ago and got grant agreement this week. So that's all I have. If anybody has questions for me.
Could you reiterate the proper use of the grant? Is it directly for the director or just a function of the office?
So, you mean where does the money actually go?
Yes, what's the proper use of it?
So, what we will do, Coles County Regional Planning will redo the GIS maps, do some analysis with maps, write a draft plan, with the help of the steering committee, the draft plan and all of the risks and hazards. We'll probably have minimum of 5 meetings. Last time we had an RV4, the visitor center. But we typically do the 5 meetings, write the draft plan, send it to Illinois Emergency Management Agency who reviews it. Then they send it to FEMA. FEMA normally sends it back with comments and things you need to work on. And then we submit a final draft, and you guys would then approve this at the board, and we would show up green on FEMA's website. So, but the money does go to regional planning.
Being on the EMA committee here in Shelby County, I just wanted to offer our thanks. You guys are helping us, and that goes to the root of EMA in my eyes, in that it's people helping people, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's a win-win for the county. It's another thing that can go through that force, their struggle finding an EMA director as well.
I did have a question.
Sure.
I'm a supervisor of assessments, and when you said update GIS maps,
Yes.
is that like a new flight or what?
No,
Because we
so
want-
actually what that is in the hazard mitigation plan, you have to include a number of maps. One of them being critical facilities throughout the county and things like that. So we'll use the base data for the county and basically plot where critical facilities, flooding, flood maps, etc. So that,
Because I'm looking for a grant to pay for the flight. It
Um,
runs about 160.
I left some cards up there, but we just got a grant to pay for imagery through Illinois State Police for Coles and Moultrie County.
Okay.
So-
Christian County was going to write that grant, and then she dropped it at the last minute. So
Yeah, I talked to Mickey
we would have
about
had
that.
one, you know, done.
So we do the addressing and
Okay.
911 stuff for Moultrie, or I mean Shelby and Christian County. Get with me and we'll work on that next
Thank
year.
you.
We need a motion to approve that.
Yes, please. Barb makes the motion to approve the grant. Second. Danny seconded. Any more discussion on the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item 8 is John Vanderberg with the forensic update.
Good evening. Just basically wanted to be able to give you an update that we are processing the information from various different departments on the audit. Things are progressing. Obviously, it's a time-consuming and tedious task, but people have been cooperative and things are going well. I can't particularly give you any specifics like this until things are complete, but wanted to let you know that things are progressing along. If you have any general questions, I'll be more than happy to answer that. But otherwise, we should be in contact soon.
I think the elephant in the room is based on what you've seen, what you've gathered, do you have a timeline?
I would like to believe 6 weeks probably. We ought to be able to be pretty well wrapped up, I would think. That is dependent upon, we're recreating 5 years worth of data to assure that it's correct. Obviously, that takes time. There's not a specific precedent to say this is exactly how long it will take. So everything we do is custom. So, if things go well, if records continue to be available, then I would think it won't be a great deal of time. The problem that I believe we're going to have, and I don't mind saying it now, is the adequacy of some of the older records are going to hamper the report, the details. And that's not something that you all can control. It's not something that I can control. We are both going to be a victim of that, I would anticipate. We're coming up with that currently, and with that, we will talk to you about maybe suggestions to prevent yourself from being in that type of scenario.
No, that was my question.
I thought that was the open room. Earl.
Sometime back, we got a letter stating that you put it on hold because you were doing taxes.
So, right, during tax season, I do taxes, yes, that's correct.
Why didn't you give us that information when we were discussing trying to get this process moving along quickly and you throw the anchor out on us?
That was unintentional if that was the case. I apologize for that.
John?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we're going to duplicate this again now, after the recent resignation of the sheriff, audit district accounts, or managing auditing is.
Right, so, whatever, line is 15, is according to statute, the county board is to cause an audit on the resignation or vacancy of every office. I need to look into this a little further, but I do believe our county auditor will just do a financial audit. And it's not a forensic or anything really deep, it's just a basic financial audit upon the vacancies. So we'll get to that. Ethan, you'd like to say that, or is there any?
I would agree with your position. I believe it's really intended to be more along the lines of your normal process. What we're doing is a more specific, detailed look, more specific set of activities, etc. That is different than the type of thing you do with an elected official in the police office.
So no, to answer your question, we're not going to duplicate it. It might come on the heels of our regular audit, but it'll be that separately. Any other questions for Mr. Granberg? Thank you. Thank you for coming and updating us. I'd like to bring up, skip down to item 18, bring it up to just above item 9, go to the Economic Development Council agenda item. Like I said in the public comment, we as a county are supporting an economic development council here in the county. It is named after the county. But sitting on the board, I kind of started to draw a question of what does this council do for the county? Now, all crowd, she's part of tourism, correct?
Yes.
You're tourism. And tourism is part of EDC, is that correct?
We're part of what?
EDC, is that correct?
No, I go to the meetings, but we're not on board or
It's
anything.
not, okay.
Yeah.
See, this is where I get really confused, and this is why I bring it to the board for discussion, because I'm a little bit in the weeds on it, and I want this to get out in the open so we all know what we're spending our money on, because it is budgeted, and we spend money on it. It's about $12,000 a year. The caveat to that is if we would up the amount that we put into that on an already strained budget, by the way. This is the both sides of the coin I look at. We can do more with EDC, we can do more with economic development, because we can get people in there that will be more pointed in their position and probably more active because of simple pay scale. This has been discussed in EDC here a while back. But at $12,000 a year, and by the way, the city of Shelbyville has agreed to match that, I'm questioning, and this is where I want Bruce to kind of elaborate on more of the history and what does the EDC do for the county. And like I said, there is a action-driven agenda item, but of course that can be voted down. So if you would take the floor and just kind of maybe answer some questions.
Could you maybe come up to the middle where we know better?
Economic development is just what it says. And what that person would do would be to push economic development in the county. All right. A good example of it is the new apartment building that went up on Hickory. It was a direct result of one of our past economic development people working with a developer to build that apartment building. Okay. So tax money into the city and into the county off of that, and you still got more buildings to put up. Okay. So build those before he was ever done building. We don't have places for people to live. All right. So when IHI Turbo, when they increased their plant, quadruple the size of it, these folks that they're bringing in go somewhere else to live and pay taxes. So the whole intent there is to get somebody in that's qualified. In the past, we haven't had people necessarily that do economic development the way they should. They did their best with what they had, just like you're saying. But the alternative is, without it, where are we going in Shelby County? Without anything, I think we know the answer to that.
So the Economic Development Council is the authority, if you will, of, or I guess the point figure of bringing in the housing or the businesses. We've got Walmart out there and Dollar General's all over the county. Was that a function of this group soliciting, or did they come in and ask questions and research?
That was done before my time on that committee, Walmart. But they historically go to an economic development committee, to the county, to the city, looking to see if they can get land in order to come in, see if it's a fit.
Paul, or, John.
If there's any feedback from any development committees prior to Bruce being in there, I've never heard of it. And I've been a developer for 35 years, I've worked in the city for 19 years about residential construction, subdivision, and all that. There seems to be zero interest in doing any of that. I'm still available to help any committee that wants to try to bring in housing and other projects like this to the city. Nobody seems to have any interest. $12,000 is really
Well,
wasting money unless
that's just our part.
there's some action goes with it.
Right. And that's, the $12,000 is just our part. The city, I do believe, is agreed to match. And the Chamber of Commerce has already, has approved to jump in and be supportive of this.
But there has to be some action on somebody's part. And that's what I've done in the past somewhat, but not got any cooperation with the city except for the TIP programs. And that didn't help housing hardly at all here, like it has other cities. So I know Bruce is probably as frustrated as anybody, trying to get things happen when nobody gets behind us or gets behind him and pushing to say, find the land, find the developers, find the big builders, and find the apartment developers like he has there to make it all work. Or the money's wasted.
I got you back here.
What is your annual budget?
Pardon me?
What is your annual budget? You throw a hand grenade at it.
We don't have a budget per se. I mean, we have the money that comes from the city and the county to pay an employee.
What amount is that?
It's around $30,000.
Thanks.
Gary.
Do you have the ability to, or do you like get grants or help people get grants for the ones that in?
That's what this person would be doing.
Okay,
They're looking out there for grants in order to, number one, help pay for their position, and number two, anything that's out there for development.
So like the apartments that came in, you would help them get grants or some kind of
They
financial help?
didn't necessarily get a grant, but they worked with the city in order to get some infrastructure done, okay, in order to be able to do it.
They got some tax incentives or
Yes.
something like that then, okay?
Bruce, what kind of tax abatements did they get, any at all?
I don't know that he got any, necessarily any abatements, but he got some help with sewer and water and those kind of
Just
things.
the infrastructure?
Yeah.
No tax?
I don't believe there was any.
That's another mistake they made, not to draw people in. Walmart made a tremendous package when they came in, but there's no incentives for other developers to do anything in this town. And they need that.
So in the grand scheme of things, I gotta ask this question. So if the county's involvement then, since the county is taking a stand, or if the county takes a stand and continue the relationship, then anybody within the county, any municipality has basically, I wouldn't say full access, but, like you were saying, the person that would acquire the money to push development, if we put money into it, more money into it, and we hire a person that is very active, I should say, then a person in Weequahic, Sigel, Stewartson, Windsor, Okanee can utilize that same person, is that correct?
Correct. It would be countywide. And in the past, I mean, all the mayors are all invited, and anybody that wants help from this person, that's who they would go to. So it's economic development for the entire county, although every village, every city, although they don't participate in payment, it's just the county and the city Shelbyville that fund it.
And that's where I draw the question. I have to. If municipalities want to use this person, I think municipalities ought to be funding this person. It's been a battle. I think it's been an internal battle to get somebody good in, but with the municipalities, since the county's been involved, they get it for free. And if municipalities on their own would pitch in, many hands make life work. So this is why I bring it up. I think the board should know exactly what's going on. And, like I said, we do appropriate funds for it, so we should know. Go ahead.
Does Shelbyville provide money, the city of Shelbyville, for this?
Yes, they split it evenly with the county.
They split it evenly?
Yeah.
Okay, so they are, right?
Yeah, whatever.
But Windsor and Okanee, or I'm not picking on any of them, but
the other towns don't.
It's my
So
knowledge.
that's basically what you're saying, that Shelbyville does, but nobody else does. Okay.
I mean, I like that, when Kenny, when you're on that committee or something, wants to be economic development, yeah, West Central development, that's a different one.
And I guess one change I heard you say is for the first time, the chamber and economic development is going to be merging together.
We're trying to put that together at this point, yes.
I would think that would be a plus, especially in trying to get some of these other cities involved.
And this is kind of where we're at an impasse. I feel that we're at an impasse. The county can keep the ball rolling, but boy, to me, the benefit to the county is income tax, real estate tax, and sales tax. I get that, there is a benefit. But the municipalities are typically the ones that are, like Shelby, we've named numerous businesses. So the town, the municipality is getting, and then like I mentioned Freddie in tourism, you've got all these little businesses, wineries and restaurants and privately owned grocery stores, if they would urge their mayors to support the economic development, we could step back, let the many hands do a little bit versus us, but because in my opinion, realistically, to get somebody in there, I think the person should up the budget for economic development and try to hire somebody really good. Moultrie County, you familiar with Moultrie County, how they work? Kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
I am. Moultrie County works, they have their economic development, their chamber, and their tourism all as one entity. They're funded, so it's in Sullivan, actually, the county sees it. Moultrie County pretty much funds that whole thing themselves. And we're talking about a lot of money, in excess of, don't quote me on this, but somewhere around $50,000 to $75,000 that county board allocates to their economic development. With that, I've heard reports come back that says that they've got $2 million worth of grants right now pending from their economic development. And they continually grow up there with that.
Yeah, they're putting in infrastructure south of town, I mean, they're really trying to get that draw in. And this is, like I said, this is why grants are board. We've got, in my opinion, we have a meager line item budget, on the budget. And I think we have a decision here to either stay in and fund it and try to keep it and push it, or back out and let the municipalities, let the EDC go back to municipalities and try to pull funding in there. Does anybody know, in your localities, how your cities sit? I mean, obviously Shelbyville's already declared that they will match the county's funds. So if we went to $20,000 budget, they would put in $20,000.
If it goes zero, they go.
Well, bear in mind the Chamber of Commerce has already
This
stepped
chamber
in.
has some funds also to put in the pot when they merge.
They would have funds to put in the pot, as well as they're a fundraising unit. They raise funds for the chamber.
The chamber raises funds by membership with business.
Right.
That's where they get their money from.
So, all this discussion, we don't have to take action. Would
Would it be advisable for the county to send out letters to the town mayors to see if they'd be interested?
that or the EDC could do that?
They do it or whatever, see if they'd like to join.
Have you reached out? Go ahead.
You have to spend money to make it, Robbie.
It sounds like
You
it.
gotta stay in there and raise it up, and you're gonna get interest from other people coming by. 12,000, sort of like covered the overhead.
And we don't have to make a decision tonight.
Mr. Chairman, does the county board have an economic development committee?
No. No.
I would urge that to start there as one of the things that we do. Start to move this thing forward. And again, I would hope that without any other plan, that you would continue to support the economic development committee that we have right now until we can work through something, make some changes.
The executive committee is in the process of setting the budget. If the committee comes to a decision to increase that budget, and then the board passes it, then it's set. Otherwise, it is what it is current. What it's been is what it is currently. So, anyway, board members, talk to your executive committee members on the budget and move forward.
Is there a way to get like a measurable return? Like if we're spending $12,000 of county money, X amount is going to come back in. Is there a way to see what it is now, and can you put together an estimate if we double that? Is the return coming back into the county, or we're bringing more full back in?
We don't see those numbers, but again, as you talk, I mean, you're looking at whatever the numbers are from real estate taxes and sales taxes. And the way I understand it, the city, and I'm sure the county, sales tax is huge. Which shows you an economic growth in your community. That's what you're going to see. We're not privy to necessarily to those numbers.
And I don't know if there's a way to directly correlate the returns to what we're spending there somehow.
I would hope that there would be. But the things, it's like, the things that we do today, we may not see for 2 or 3 years, and that's unfortunately just kind of the nature of the animal. That's what happened with that apartment building out there. So, I mean, that was in the works for at least 2 years, maybe 3, before it actually got built.
No action means we stay at status quo, and the executive committee has the option of increasing the budget at committee level and approval of board.
Some of these other small villages, and how are they being approached on the economic?
But if you
They send a
read,
letter out, or they go to them at their meetings, find out when their meetings are, go talk to their people?
I don't, hasn't the mayor been approached as far as supporting EDC?
At one point, our economic development director, they go to the meetings in some of the various cities, but I think it would be something that when we hire again, that would be necessary to go to them, like you're saying, and see if we can get some help based on the size of the community with this. I agree with that 100%.
Jeff?
Well, your agenda item reads here, it's request approval. Why don't we go ahead and take a vote on this, and this will give the executive some direction.
Sure. So I'll make I'm going to make the motion that's on the agenda. Vote your conscience. I'm going to make a motion to request approval of the county to withdraw from membership of the Economic Development Council of Shelby County. That's what's on the agenda. Vote your conscience. Do I have a second? Gary, second. Gary Patrick, seconds. Roll call. We'll take a roll call, please.
Earl Baker.
Hey, can you just clarify for everyone who they voted yes on that meeting?
Okay. The motion is made according to the agenda, and that is to withdraw. So voting yes means that the county board will withdraw the funds from the EDC.
Earl Baker.
No.
Kenny Barr.
No.
Barbara Bennett. Mark Bennett.
No.
Teresa Bain. No. Paul Candidate.
No.
Brian Kaufman.
No.
Dennis Durbich.
No.
Jesse Durbin.
No.
Gary Gergany.
No.
Rod Hyde.
No.
Larry Lenz.
No.
Patrick White.
No.
Bobby Warman.
No.
Gary Patterson.
No.
Gary Piercy. John Poe.
No.
Robert Simpson.
No.
Jeff Slifer.
No.
David Swix.
No.
Don Tate.
No.
Lynn Williams.
No.
Motion fails unanimously.
I don't have one.
Do you do any work with West Central Community Development as far as grants or?
I have not worked that grant ever,
Okay.
but that's the job. It's going to be the job. It has been the job in the past of this person, and we need to get that going so that we get some money from these grants.
Kenny and I both attend the meetings, and my 10 years on there, we paid dues once. In Christian County, same way. And I think Kenny will agree with me, a lot of times it's kind of embarrassing, we sit there and the other counties talk about the fact that Shelby County does not pay dues.
I think it's important to point out though that West Central is very savvy at writing grants. Is that correct?
That's what they do, they
Yeah.
supervise grants. And,
So,
and the thing with grants, a lot of kids after certain towns keep getting grant after grant after grant. Those people write for every grant that comes up, they don't bitch. And we sit there and do nothing with it. And, it's kind of frustrating when you get that. Yeah.
Jerry, I think that's not an issue because of, again, the funding. What's the cost of being involved in that?
Mr. Chairman, I've heard him use the term, is there a person?
I want to say, I think last time we paid dues, it was what, $6,800? It's so much per head to count. But, I don't know why we think we're going to get something when we're not playing ball.
Right.
You've got, and you got to have people, they write the grants or did, and right now it's kind of crumbling a little bit because we tried to pull out, go with Effingham, and it's a governor's choice, and the governor was back several years ago wouldn't approve that. So we drive all the way to Carlinville every time there's a meeting. And again, he's not that much fun to ride with, his dog's pretty nice.
to answer your question, the person that we're referring to is, the EDC needs to hire a new director.
We have a person.
And this is where, if we're going to commit funds, then they can hire the director to do the work that we're putting in.
So we're looking like we are.
Yep.
Good luck.
Yep. So, without any further discussion, any questions?
You know, you're using county money for support this. Well, the county money comes from set back away from every entity in the county. So really, every entity is already putting money into this, because it's based on your set valuation, what taxes they pay. So they're paying their fair share. Shelby will get the biggest bang out of it, but they're the biggest city too. You know, I mean.
Right.
So I think it's fair if you want to go to these cities and ask them, well, they're already paying too, in my opinion. Now, that's what I look at it, and maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's a good point.
That's a good point.
But that's why I bring this to the board.
It's all tax money, it comes from the county that we've paid, it's equally paid.
And I'm sure that's the argument that these villages are going to have, is that they're already paying towards to the county, but that doesn't mean we can't ask.
Start showing us we do something, then we're going to kick it. That's the problem. I see nothing in any of my How about over downtown? Down there in Harris, anything happening down there you guys help me with?
Yeah, I'm putting that in mind.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. Moving on to item 9. Highway engineer is out of town tonight, so Brian will make a presentation.
All right, we've got several things here. First one is recommend approval of a petition from the Prairie and Big Spring Highway Commissioners to replace a rusted out culvert located on the township line at 590 North, 3000 East. It's southeast of Strasburg. Estimated cost is $5,000 to be split equally between the county and the township.
Jeff makes the motion and Earl seconds it. Any discussion on this culvert? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Next one, recommend approval of a resolution to award the contract for upgrading Todd's Point Railroad crossing approaches located 2 miles northeast of Finley and 2250 north, 2280 east. We had the bid letting on, I believe it was on Friday. The bidder was Klein Excavating at $125,648.04. It's funded 100% by the Illinois Commerce Commission. Estimated cost was $122,680, so they came in a little over the estimated, but well within reason. And like I said, it's 100% funded by the Illinois Commerce Commission.
Mark Bishop makes the motion to approve. Paul Kennedy makes the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Recommend approval of a petition from the Okanee Highway Commissioner to replace a 10-ton posted bridge located 2 miles southeast of the village of Okanee. Bridge to be replaced using Okanee's Rebuild Illinois Bond Grant, Township Bridge Program funds, and the remaining split equally between the county and township.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Earl Baker makes the motion. I'll second. I got Kenny up here. Sorry, Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Recommend approval of a resolution to request approval from the Illinois Department of Transportation to utilize Okanee's Rebuild Illinois Bond Grant funds in the amount of $296,634 to replace Okanee Bridge state above. This is basically to allow them to use the Illinois Rebuild Illinois funds to do that bridge that you just voted the resolution for.
Motion to use the Illinois funds. Paul Kennedy, seconded by Gary Patterson. Any discussion?
I might add that that's the only way that funds can be used on a vulnerable project, because that's what they picked out to do.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Then we've got recommend approval to enter into an engineering contract with Hutchinson Engineers for design services to replace the Okanee Bridge stated above. Estimated cost is $48,844.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I got Kenny Barr, motion, and Jesse second. I need your name tag back up here. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
All right, we've got some updates here. Western Railroad Crossing Approach Project that we started last fall. This should be seal coated this month and completed. So that's a good thing. Calhoun Road Upgrade Project started on June 28th. I think they started milling maybe or something like that. Yeah. Okay. The pre-job with the IDOT and contractors for replacing the Flat Branch closed bridge occurred on June 24th. The anticipated construction start date is July 12th. 8-ton posted bridge replacement in Rose Township was bid by IDOT in Springfield on June 11th. Low bidder was Depew and Owen Construction at $296,588. Estimated cost was $280,543. IDOT will award the contract, no action is required. Hoping to bid the Cold Spring Opening Township Bridge Repair Project on August, estimated cost of $50,000 for engineering and construction. Requested IDOT to reimburse townships. For those of you who don't know, I know Mark's been living this nightmare very bad. Mark, I have, Rod probably has. They closed down Route 2128 at about 2 miles south of the Winfield Bethany Blacktop. They've been redirected. Well, the detour for the state is to go on highways. So the detour is supposed to take them through Mattoon and back around to get to where they want to go. Well, nobody's following that. They're taking township roads, and they are, oh geez, it's horrible. I mean, it was bad enough in the tractor before going down, and I think I hit my head 50 times going down it the other day. So, Allen has requested IDOT to reimburse the townships for the road damage on Elm Road 228 closure. Unfortunately, IDOT denied the request. And there's another new project that's going to start for you guys in the northern half of 128, or southern half, I should say. They're going to start resurfacing it from 128 north to Finley Road. So there's going to be some further shutdowns from what I heard. They're going to shut the whole road down again for replacement of box culverts. So yeah, it's going to be, yeah. So fun. Yes, Mark.
Did he have to say anything about trying to reapply again later?
I think his plan is to. I don't think he's going to not let it fly, but basically IDOT said, what he told the road bridge committee on Friday was IDOT basically said, you're out of luck. That's not our problem. So anyway, fun.
Are they over the weight limits going down our roads?
Well, I don't think there's really any weight limits on those roads. It's I think it's more than anything, it's just the increase in traffic. Mark, you probably had 3 cars a day go by your road, and most of them were people you knew. And now you're probably got, I would estimate you probably got between 200 and 300 cars going by your house now.
At least, yes. Yeah.
It's just an increase in traffic.
In the last, I think it's been about 7 weeks now.
Yeah.
I know of 5 accidents. We're lucky we haven't had somebody killed. If we put up a barricade so that they don't use the shortest route, which happens to go by my house, then we end up having a lot more damage on other township roads because they're going to use whichever one's the closest.
I felt sorry for a little lady who was trying to get to the cemetery after Mount Zion, and she was coming down 120, and somehow she ended up at my house. And I'm like, okay, you go right up this 51 and get to Mount Zion. She was lost. I'm like, okay, think about this. Sent her straight down the blacktop to the 120, and she got lost. Just an update. I got 2 more actually. Received statement of qualifications from 6 engineering firms to provide construction engineering oversight for the Country Club Road Project. This is funded with federal, state, and rebuild element bond funds. And the last one, we've announced this several times. There's COVID-19 road funding grants that are available in local municipalities, in townships, villages, everything. Any township, village, or county that is interested needs to be having an application letter sent to the county chairman by August 1st of 2021. So if any of you guys want to talk to anybody in your area, we need something by August 1st.
And to date, I've only got one letter from the city.
Yeah. That's all I've got for this.
Right.
Yes.
When the old lady still running around?
I think she got there, but she didn't end up back at my place. So we'll cut that as a bonus. So, Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I request about a 10-minute recess. We've been sitting here for 2 hours. I know that felt good for me to stand up. I could use the restroom. We've got a long line here. Sorry, Sean, I'm stepping in front of you, but there's a long list of stuff still to go over. I think it would be a good idea to get people to choose a step and take a restroom break. It's okay.
I have 8:52 on my clock. Let's all be back and seated 8 minutes at 9 o'clock sharp.
Thank you. What's that? What
Hang in there. Well, I didn't know whether I speak up or not.
something.
Anyway, I will get a county order.
Thank you. As we come back into order, falling out of order, Sean has requested to pull his agenda item, but I would like to, before he leaves, would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, I want to look into this. There's some things I want to look into this this quote. I want to make sure that I've done it right. I've been, as I thought about it throughout the day, and I wanted to come here and explain to you. There's some things I want to make sure that I'm doing right on this, okay? So, and I know there's been some trailer bills that have been introduced in regards to some new laws that are coming out for the deputies in regards to body cams and all of that. I want to do some more research, guys. Give me just a little bit of chance. So if you don't mind, at the last minute, I'm going to pull it away from you and just say, give me a little bit more time and we'll get it on the next agenda. And I promise you I'll be ready to go then. But I apologize for getting it all in front of you and then taking it away. So just give me a little bit more time. So,
Thank you, Sean. Moving on to item 11, Jeff, Animal Control Committee of the Board.
Got a request for approval for resolution to dispose of 2012 Chevrolet Silverado. You can see the VIN number there. Used for animal control by trading it to a dealer for the purchase of a replacement vehicle. And I talked to Brad a little bit tonight on the way in, and he is getting one order, but it might be 2022 before we get her. And if we don't know, we can even get a 21 model, so it's right here, right. It might be, but I don't really know. Just like to ask for a motion.
We've been talking about a truck for the rescue squad for a long time. When we get this truck for the rescue squad?
Let's put a motion on the floor. David Switz makes the motion to request approval of resolution to dispose of the 2012 Silverado by trading it to the dealer to purchase a replacement vehicle. Second by Brian Coughlin. Any discussion now?
We vote this, dispose of it, I'd like to make a motion to give it the rest of
Well, just bring it to discussion and then make a motion, but I think we should discuss the disposal. So,
The did rescue squad one. I was told they didn't want it. That's what I was told as well. They don't want it.
Are the mechanicals wrong?
It's getting to the point, we was kind of hoping to get one a little sooner. It's going to need tires. It's not, it's not a big deal, but
But disposal through trade-in would decrease the purchase value
Correct.
versus transferring it to the rescue, which would mean that we would make full purchase
Where
value.
do you get your trade-in on?
Pardon, Earl?
How much are they giving you for trade-in?
Last time that was roughly 10,000.
That's a pretty good number. What's the age on it? 99? 2012?
How much?
Hold on. I got a question. About that.
Is that a half ton?
I am not sure, I believe it is.
What size does the rescue squad need? I think we need to do one that.
At least a 3/4 ton, 250. I don't want to turn this truck down. That robotic is in such bad shape. They're going to, regardless if they say they don't want it or not, they're going to be without a vehicle real quick because that budget cannot support fixing that robotic, So that's where I'm going with this.
I just want to make sure that.
But, I mean,
But in the same breath, you want to get something that you can use in need versus something that would be just kind of halfway.
yeah,
I think that's the
That's
discrepancy.
what I was trying to go for.
yeah, and you hit it right there.
Mark,
This approximate value of trading it in, no matter if it's a year or a year and a half before we get another truck, that set in stone, it's a drawing. $10,000, they still don't give us that, even though we put more miles on them.
I'm just giving you a number I had last.
Oh, I didn't know if they had already locked in a price.
That I couldn't answer you, sure, fine.
I think it's not enough money for it. I think it's
we've got a lot of
They've
conversation.
got, if they're trading in,
That's fine, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
As of a few months ago, I believe the deal is done, it's just approving.
so the numbers have been fixed. We just need approval to do it. Any other questions or discussion on this resolution? Resolution to dispose of the 2012 guys. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously, and it was not a money variance on our part, it is, but it is. Okay, item 12, Eric Furniver with the monthly revenue expense investor report.
Your beginning balance in your general fund available cash, $2,378,537.71. We're no longer going to have the payroll liabilities in there with the new accounting system. We're not going to have due to from. Revenue, $423,525. Expenses, $416,670. With a balance of $2,385,376.06. Your restricted funds out of that are $340,302.98, leaving you a available cash balance $2,045,073.08.
You said there's no payroll liability.
In the new system, it doesn't compute that way. It doesn't show up as a liability, and we're not doing due to from, which is also partly our auditors wanted that to stop as well. So it's showing up different. Yes, we're fumbling our way through all kinds of reports, and there's a lot of change, but we won't get, that won't be there anymore. Everything in this new system posts immediately, which some of these other numbers may change a little bit next year because we weren't aware. We've always posted when we actually go and pay either the beginning of the month or the end of the month. And we did the payroll and all those insurances and everything automatically posted to the accounts and in the system, and we didn't know that. It's just different. It's just a learning curve.
Just subtracting it all that time.
Oh, yeah, everything's there. Some of it got put in twice, and we've got a due date next week, so we haven't had time to go back and, change everything because we posted it not knowing the system automatically posted it. But our due date's next week, so we're, it's November. That's fine.
Any other questions for Eric? David?
I have a few. Where does our payroll expense show up on this? Does it show up in normal expenses or where does it show up?
And some of them come out of the different funds. I mean, some of the highway are paid out of different funds, health gets reimbursed out of different funds, but yeah.
So it's all out of this, so we only have less than 100,000 other expense for the month, other payroll.
No, because part of payroll is taken out of GIS, part of it's taken out of highway accounts, part of it's taken out of health accounts.
Okay.
So
does
not
the-
every dime of payroll is in that expense.
So does the new software one make you able to print out a monthly report?
I can print all kinds of reports.
Okay, so can we have a monthly report that has all the expenses we go on?
A monthly report that has what?
All the incoming expenses on it? Per department? I mean, it should do it all.
If you want to email me, I'll send it to you. I ran some reports, you're talking 60, 70, 80 pages on some of these reports.
There's only 60 items, so the expense and income line should be pretty simple per month, and it should do it for you.
It's not, I'm going to tell you, it's not a statutory requirement for me to bring that. If you would like that report, you can email me and I will gladly save it to my computer and I'll email it to you. But if I print that report for 22 board members at 60 plus pages,
What you're saying is, what she's saying is the general fund doesn't pay out everybody's, but then what you're asking for is all the rest of it be kind of put into a lump sum. So you take just the bottom line.
Are you asking for an AP expense report or a payroll expense report or both?
We're talking the whole county. I don't know why we can't say the whole county monthly expense and income. We spent $55,000. It should be that hard to work on. It doesn't. When you enter those expenses and income in,
Because
like,
I
it
mean,
makes the report.
what we could do, because we have to, when we're doing the AP things, we can print a report towards the end of our process, which essentially shows, group, like expenses, like how much went to this and how much went to that. So I mean, we could just accumulate those pages, and then when we get done paying bills for the month, send, email that out.
It should, yeah, it should be a good, one sheet, at least two.
No, it'll be longer, it'll be longer than that. Just because we do it at, we pay our bills over the course of a week, so every time we do that, we generate a report. So like I said, we could accumulate those, and then when we're done with the bill paying process, send those all out.
Sure, that's it.
And then just
I think what you're
hand
putting,
this out to me.
Yeah, email it in our copy of it.
I think what you're asking for is if you're paying out bills in a 7-day period of time, for example, just take the 7-day accumulation and put it as a summary page. If that's possible.
It's just, I mean, the committees, all of the committees are reviewing, the various committees are going to review what it is that we are sending out. So, I mean, we can do it. It just may not, we can do it. I'm just not gonna say that you're gonna get it when you get your board packet. It may be the Wednesday before the board meeting, but we'll try to get it to you as soon as we can, just because the office heads, I mean, bills straggle in, so I'm going to have to ask all the departments to get their bills in when they're supposed to be in, so we can get them all paid, so that we can do these reports, but we can do it.
That's fine, just something a little more than that.
Okay, okay.
More than expenses are going on. A little more.
Any other questions? I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Outlines, motion, board maker seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Barnes.
We got our state has sent, effective July 1, the state's attorney's salary is going to $142,068.19. That's set by the state. You don't have an option there, but because we have a full-time public defender, by statute, that position is paid at 90%. So I need approval to take the public defender's salary to $127,861.37.
So just reimbursed, correct? Some percent?
Yes.
I'll make that.
Bart Bennett makes the motion to approve the salary increase of the public defender, seconded by Don Tate. Any discussion, questions? Yeah, it's two-thirds, yes, two-thirds. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 14 is my request of approval to engage with Bellwether LLC to manage Shelby County's America Rescue Plan on the county's behalf as a consultant. In your board packet, you should have all received a letter from Bellwether. And Jessica and Eric could probably answer questions, but the long and short of this is it's continuing federal funds basically into the local governments for shortfalls of revenues. If COVID caused shortfalls of revenues, then there's a need for these funds. The real catch is if it's spent improperly, you pay that money back. So if a municipality needs, or has a shortfall, and we can be the venue in which we write that grant, more or less. And so we take their request, we send it to Bellwether. Bellwether reviews it according to federal law, and then says, yes, this is in accordance with federal law. That's the long and short of this little process. Now, on page 2, it says the client shall pay $20,000. Payment shall be in response to 2 invoices. The initial payment of $10,000 will be paid at contract signing, and the second will be paid at the time of the distribution. Those funds are covered in the ARP grant. So it's not really an expense to the county. We're just the venue in which we're more or less the authority to let these funds out. To my knowledge, I don't think that we directly have any shortfalls due to COVID, according to what the requirements are, but our municipalities and local governments might, but other tiers. So the funds go into a interest-bearing account. We hold them until, I do believe, 2025, and whatever's not used gets reimbursed back to the U.S. Treasury. My whole story so far, and Erica didn't go to a conference. You did? Anything else? And this is the real boiled down version. I think it's really good for us to at least bring the funds in and then start having these applications and these municipalities reach out and see what we can do. If we don't act, we don't get the money. And if we don't use the money, we just turn it back. And I do believe, do we keep the money or we turn it back to the business? I don't remember. That's really not an issue. But it is to the tune of somewhere around $4 million. So.
Kobe, what was that dollar amount? Sorry, I just didn't hear.
Right around 4.2 million. So the letter, it's in your board packet. Any questions on any of that literature? Oh, sorry.
How long have we got to use this then?
2025. We have 3 years. it goes into an interest-bearing account, like any other investment would go into, and as it accrues the interest. And this is the part I don't remember what Bruce told me. If that interest stays or the interest goes back with it. So in a sense, what the federal government's doing is they're sending money out to the interest-bearing accounts, and whatever is not used accrues interest and is sent back. So it's not totally just a dollar-for-dollar exchange. Questions? Yes.
This money would go to you, to other municipalities, townships, cities, villages, as to people. Who is going to be the one that lets the villages, the townships know?
So that would be Bellwether.
Okay, they're the ones that would be contacting all villages, townships, okay, and fire agencies.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious if it was going to be us as a county entity doing that, or just word of mouth, or what? So,
No, in this letter, it says that you'll provide, the county will provide the information of basically all of our, whether it's a fire district or ambulance or city or village, provide all that contact and then they'll disperse the information.
So Bellwether's the one that will issue the checks to those?
No, they are just working as a consultant to make sure that, so the way this sounds, none of us want to be the approving body.
Right.
And they've done enough of this. They've got 43 other counties they're doing this with, and they're just about specialized in this right now because it's engulfed their entire business. But using them to prove or to basically say, yes, that is appropriate use of those funds, it unloads a lot of liability on us.
But we still have to come to you, right, or us?
No, the submissions would, how'd that work? Submissions would be made through Bellwether, and then they would kick it back and say, yes, you can disperse this money as this.
They're basically their clearing house for that money to be spent.
And we're holding money.
Okay.
Any questions, concerns?
They're basically just an administrator for us. They don't get that money, but they're going to help us.
Make sure we spend it correctly.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Rod Light makes the motion to approve the letter of engagement for Bellwether. Gary Gurney seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15 is request approval for an audit of accounts held by the Shelby County Sheriff pursuant to 55 ILCS 5/6-31005 due to the retirement of Sheriff Coombs. I'm just asking for board approval to move forward and with the audit, with the audit.
Are we gonna have to pay them extra to do this? I mean, they've already gouged us on last time, so we're gonna have to pay them again.
Right. So we haven't made a decision on who's going to do the audit yet.
We don't have a second yet.
We're just saying it needs to be an audit. And we have 180 days to complete the audit. So, Tora Baker, can you make a motion?
Yes, sir.
John Moe, seconds.
How far back will this have to go? Time you started?
I think it's just,
What's it gonna cost?
Our current audit was September 1st, so it surely don't have to go back any farther than that.
is there any question?
Yeah, I guess we've got two audits. I mean, I realize they're two different audits, but we've got 2 audits being done right now, and we've paid a lot of money for both of them, and we've not received anything from them yet. I wonder if we had on hold off until at least we get our money's worth out of the first 2 before we go spending more money for them. I'm not saying maybe you shouldn't do it. None of these get our money. They're going to pay for it now.
Where do you say extensions if we have to do that?
Yeah, upon the resignation or vacancy.
It doesn't have to be done.
It's 180 days, he said.
Yeah,
So
so
we're just approving that the audit will be done.
we've got a little time to go through. See some results. We'll try to spend some money. Be sure.
And I contacted, well, I was talking to John earlier, and I asked him about, should he do it? He's already audited. And he said, this is a completely different audit. So in gathering information, it's like, okay, so theoretically, your county auditor would do the audit, which would be Weston County. We're already in contract with them. So Weston Company would be on, in my opinion, the default on this, as much as it burns, no doubt. But they would be the default, so.
Does that come out of the sheriff's budget for the audit?
Comes out of the, I believe it'd be the 029 funds not separated, and there's an audit account in the general fund. It is a very small number of accounts. Well, this would make 3. Yeah.
We've got
Why can't you just tell them they have to do it? Just say that's part of your job. You don't have to pay an extra.
I'd have to look in the contract, see if there's anything that would.
Well, they've already made a contract, charge us the extra money anyway. So I think we should stand firm with them for a change. They've already shafted the county.
David.
Possibly the audit exceed at some point in time would possibly cover this.
It might, and this is where it might cover. I'll talk to them and find out if what they've got in their audit.
What kind of thing, 30 days or something like that?
Well, this statute requires an audit in addition to the audit required by this division. So when they say an audit required by this division, they're talking about the annual audit by Weston Company. So we're already doing a second audit through John Vanderberg. So most of what he's done would satisfy an additional audit requirement. An option would be to expand the scope of the audit he's already doing to go up to the last day where Sheriff Haynes was in office. Because that would be an audit in addition to that required by this division.
Is this only required because the sheriff resigned?
So
Anybody
anytime
resigns during their term?
anytime there's a vacancy. Matter of fact, I think it even extends to.
Any office.
Change.
It technically extends anytime there's an open, anytime there's a vacancy. It's been in effect since 1990. There are no cases on it. I called the UCCI too, and there's no guidance. I don't think most counties are even aware of the statute or were following it, to be candid.
But it also doesn't extend basically if there's even an election. So at the turn of your office and any office that have offices to be audited.
Which can really almost bankrupt a small town if you don't have an auditor who's employed by the county.
I guess I'd move to table this until we see some figures from the audits we have out.
Motion tabled, second, Jeff. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion tabled. Item 16, discussion and action necessary for payroll enforcement, policy enforcement, discuss board action pursuant to the health insurance issue. So, I have a motion that I'd like to put on the floor. I move to formally request the board that alleged actions be investigated and alleged funds be recovered. That's my motion. Second by Rebecca. So what this item 16 is about is a year ago, it was brought to the attention that there was potential problems in the insurance.
Are we doing the first one first, or what are we doing?
What's that?
You wanted the first one, or you got two things here? The payroll policy or the health? Which one are you doing? It's two different items.
There's two different ones? Okay, so this is health insurance. This is the health insurance part. So a year ago, it dropped the insurance mitigation committee that there was an issue with alleged insurance fraud. In January, there was numbers that actually came back from the insurance company that proved what the numbers actually were. In January, February, and March, they never got brought to the attention. So I'm bringing it to the attention of the state's attorney now to have the board make a request that it is investigated and alleged wrongdoing to be recovered, and alleged funds to be recovered. Any questions, comments?
I had suggested that the insurance committee review the facts because committees are supposed to be the fact finders of public entities. And tonight we'll have a full insurance committee with Teresa's appointment. So my suggestion would be to take it in front of the insurance committee first. Certainly it needs to be looked into, and certainly if there was wrongdoing, it needs to be followed up on. I just don't know if that is true at this point. We need to run the facts.
So the reason I bring this to the board is there was a full committee until June. And the committee was poised to bring it to attention, and it hadn't happened yet. Now, we all have, when we're notified of something, we all have a duty to act if there's been anything that is questionable, and especially in terms of funds. If those funds should be recovered and investigated, that's what should happen. I was notified a while back. Erica made an email alluding to all this back in April. So our knowledge nothing has happened. So I'm asking the board formally request that the alleged actions be investigated and the alleged funds be recovered.
I'd also ask him maybe have head of our insurance guy come to one of our meetings and go to executive session and explain to us what was going on. You know, so he could give us the exact details. I know Erica tracks all this, which is fine, but I also would like Travis Smith to come to one of our meetings and explain how all this come about and what this really is. You know, I think he should be the one to explain it to the board, not just get our opinions, because he's kind of like the authority on this insurance thing. So I think we really should maybe have him come to the next board meeting if we can, and use an explanation.
Well, the facts have been presented to the insurance committee.
Not me. Not
Not
me.
you.
I know nothing.
No. You're not on the insurance committee. yeah, the previous insurance committee was abreast of the information.
Bobby, I would like to say something along that lines. We were aware of the situation. Barb was unable to do some things at that time because of tragedy in her life. I got busy. Nicole did email me. I did not see the email. I was in the field. I don't live by my phone. I don't live by my emails. I can go weeks without checking emails. If somebody needs to get a hold of me, call them. I missed it. I'm busy. I take the onus on this not getting taken care of by the insurance committee in a timely manner. I would request that you allow the insurance committee to now take care of this as a committee, and then come back to you as the board with our recommendation.
We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning.
We don't have that on the agenda for tomorrow. We don't have this issue on the agenda.
Oh. Okay.
Well, that's a moot point, because if our new member gets nominated, she can't be there in the morning anyways, Loretta.
Whenever.
So we would try to have a meeting early next week.
So, are we tabling this?
So the information basically just I have a motion and a second. To formally request that the alleged actions in the investigated alleged funds be recovered. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Aye.
Can I?
Nays, please.
Hey.
We had to do hand raise
Your hand raised.
for names, please. Keep them up.
What's this, which way it is?
This, is this aye or nay?
This is nay.
Nay is on to the committee.
Motion failed. Okay.
I would like to make one comment, though. Erica does a great job of tracking this type of insurance stuff and these things, and she's the one that brings this to our attention. So she has done a good job of bringing this up and stuff. So, but I just want it to be done, so if something comes to completion with this, then we're covered. You know, it wants to be done the way it should.
Erica.
I would just like to speak, and I'm sorry, but as the keeper of county money, elected to be the safekeeper of county money, I have officially asked, in my official capacity, I have asked our state attorney to pursue this. I've presented the numbers, we've discussed it, and we've had it. It's already out there, it's already been requested, and I have that right in my official capacity. I track the money, I know where the money's going, I know where the money's gone on this. Action has already been requested.
And I agree, action needs to be taken, but what Barb suggested, having an insurance expert come to that committee meeting would be the most prudent way to proceed.
I can explain it, if you want to explain it. We're gonna ask somebody to drive down from Decatur. He came to the insurance committee meeting when this first came up. He explained it to the insurance committee, you know, and we're just gonna kick the can down the road longer. I can tell you exactly what happened. It's pretty simple. But a lot of us don't even understand that we're self-insured. This insurance is not exactly easy to understand, and Travis can come down and explain it, and probably it's not going to be fully understood.
I would like to hear from him.
I'll send you his number tomorrow, and you can call him.
I have his number.
Okay, give him a call.
But I'll call him and see when he's available to come down and talk to us, and we'll schedule a few there too. But we'll see if he'd be able to come to a board meeting. We're gonna do this, I'd like to do it in closed session, though, to discuss the particulars of it, with names and stuff like that, because I don't want names out there until,
We're gonna be careful with the closed session part.
I know, but I don't want, this is already named
preliminary version.
Okay, so the other part of this agenda item was discussion and action necessary to payroll policy enforcement. And really, this is a discussionary part that I think that we need to talk about. When the payroll department lets me know that week in, week out, there's timesheets turned in with errors, mathematical errors, or contract errors, then how do we enforce the policy that we approved? And if it's not being followed, how do we proceed in enforcing that policy? I'm going to open up the floor. Does anybody have any ideas?
You're talking about elected officials.
Well,
David, sorry.
first of all, how do you enforce somebody to teach them how to do math and there's mathematical errors? You can't enforce that. And second of all, if that's really what the issue is, electronic timekeeping is the way to fix it.
I think it's more complex. So, Earl,
Received an email from the state attorney yesterday. And it says on here, which department, he's asking a question, which departments are not complying with the policy? Eric, do you know what departments are not complying with the policy? Mr. Chairman, would you answer that question?
I'd rather deal with it internally, but I'm looking for guidance on how do we enforce the policy. Huh?
Taxpayers would like to hear what departments are being compliant.
And our state's attorney sent an email asking a question. I just asked the question before, if you read it, the answer. That's all.
What's our current policies? I mean, how are we currently doing it? I mean, that's what it's basically asking here. What steps have we taken to this point?
So if there's an employee that's employed less than a year and they take a benefit time that hasn't been awarded to them, and the benefit comes in, well then that becomes a problem because then they're getting a benefit that wasn't awarded to them. Right. So how does the board?
What departments are they?
What good does it do for the board to approve a policy if we're not going, if the department heads aren't going to follow it?
I asked the department head to come to the meeting.
It's an idea. Well, how many departments, Erica, have given you all the benefit time that I requested? All but four? So, I requested that they all turn in their benefit time so it can be tracked to the payroll system that we have, or the financial systems that have payroll in it.
Mr. Chairman, I asked you again, what departments are violating this compliance policy? Simple question. Give me the departments.
I'd like to-
What that department?
I'd like to, I hate to say names, but I'd like to know what departments are doing this. And I don't know if you're doing it. I need to know if the my department is doing it, I need to know.
I have this on the tip of my tongue.
Where you got a department head trying to do his job?
Public defender, is that one of them? No, sorry. Would you?
What are they?
What is it
Is
they're
that-
doing wrong?
Huh?
What is it they're doing wrong? I mean, what is it?
They're not, they need to allow the human resources and payroll to track the vacation, sick, comp time. Those need to be done in human resources and payroll. And that comes out of internal controls in the last audit, probably the audits from years past. And then the payroll policy that we approved in the last year also includes that the payroll department will be quarterly, basically, the department head checks with the payroll to make sure that their numbers match. So if they do approve a vacation for 5 days, they actually have 5 days on the record versus possibly a 6th that may have been missed. So the department head is not in charge of.
Contacted each of these department heads. Eric, have you contacted each of these department heads?
I contacted.
Or it's not
all.
my job to enforce the payroll policy. Well, how do they know they're doing it wrong then? They have-
sent out the email.
So back in late May, before we switched to the new system, I had Jessica send it because I don't have it. I didn't want to forget anybody. So I sent an email with the requesting that all those numbers be turned into payroll, up to date and current, and attach the payroll policy with it. Every department head has that payroll policy, or should. If they don't, they missed it or couldn't download it or something. So,
I contacted all the department heads, no one, with the exception of Steve, because he has a special circumstance with the grants that he receives. He has his own computer system, the way I understand it, that he brought forward to a March 10th Fees and Salaries Committee and explained that, and there's minutes of that. Every other department head has not been informed that they are allegedly not compliant with the payroll policy. So I think we can handle this if there's some misunderstanding by talking directly to the department head and communicating with that person rather than bringing it to a public meeting and surmising that someone's doing something wrong or illegal.
I have a question. The payroll software that they just gotten, I've worked with payrolls in the past and stuff, and if you have a 40-hour-a-week employee, are there codes for time charged, for vacation time, overtime, sick time, whatever? Is it broken down by codes to where it adds up to 40 hours a week? So what is the problem? If they're a 40-hour employee and it's all broken down and it's all coded in there, and
It's not being coded on the timesheets. All of them, a lot of them just timesheets, this is not time. Or if it's coded now, it's in the payroll system. If I don't have a getting balance, it's showing a negative now. Because now our pay stubs show every employee on every 2-week payroll, what their bank is, what is available.
what they have for vacation, what
Right.
they have for sick time and everything, what they use
It's
2 days.
It's coded, yes.
Yes.
And it's, but I have timesheets that don't depict that somebody was on vacation, sick, or personal, or I don't have the beginning.
Well, how do you have it that they're 40 hours, what they charge that 40 hours to? How do you, if they were there for 40 hours, or if they were on vacation for 40 hours, what did you charge that time to get a check made out?
The payroll sheet.
Regular time.
They turn in
I
the
don't
payroll sheet.
have
They don't have exempt time on there then, is what you're saying, they didn't have
There's no
vacation?
benefit, yes, there's no, a lot of them are, there's not, the benefit time is not coded. So it shows in the system, I know we've had employees on vacation, but I get a time sheet, and if you look at the time sheet, it looks like they were at work all week.
Okay, but their supervisor signed the timesheet and sent it to you. So is it your job to scrutinize what you get, or is it your job to enter what she's got?
well, it's kind of hard to not scrutinize when somebody comes in and says, oh, I had a real nice vacation last week, and then they turn in a timesheet with 40 hours as showed work. That becomes an issue, and it's happening.
But
We don't see that.
we don't see
You
that
won't,
in
you
the
won't see
supervisor.
it. You won't see it.
But then,
Department heads.
What I'm saying is, you won't see it because it's documented. I mean,
Usually
if
they
it's
have
documented,
vacation. They have vacation written across there, sick day, I mean,
see,
we have those. I guess we really need to know what offices you're talking about so we can actually look at those payroll sheets when we do our fees and salaries meeting.
it's kind of what we do. Right, but would you know any different? Case in point.
We give it.
No, I know,
Forty hours,
this,
they didn't
this,
work anything.
this wasn't, yeah. What I'm saying is this is not even county related. that a person was on social media. Their employer figured it out. That wasn't a good time because they clocked, somebody's clocking them in, and then the employer figured it out. So there are things happening that the department heads need to be really paying attention and focusing on the payroll facts. Furthermore, the payroll policy went through the vetting process of our insurance company, and who else did it go through? Insurance and
Donna Rogers, the HR specialist with insurance, Weston Company, approved it.
right.
I talked to John Vanderwerf about it.
Whatever language is in there is backed up by labor law. And if we're not, if the payroll department or HR can detect it, and then we need to wait to enforce those rules if they're not being followed.
HR department's for. Mr. Chairman, if somebody's violating, it's a proof of vacation, where there's no vacation approved, the supervisor is okay in that.
And then there's the next problem is, how does HR know that since if there's nothing in the system that says the person has vacation, so if they haven't turned in their balances, there's a zero in their balances for vacation, so the department head turns in a timesheet that says 35 hours for vacation, well, now it's going to show a negative 35, and HR has no way of, there's no checks and balances.
Did they say they were on vacation, or they just approved 40 hours?
Well, what's the checks and balances if there's no HR?
Well, there's another thing here. They're ASME, or they could be FOP, but they're underneath the contract. If they're underneath that contract, they need to follow the contract. Not necessarily a policy, but you follow the contract. Whatever that contract, both parties agreed upon, okay? It wasn't just one-sided, it's both sides. So you go right down to the contract.
Right, payroll policy is in line with the contracts, I do believe.
We need to know which offices are not doing what they're supposed to do,
Compliant.
and address those offices specifically. So which offices, like Earl said, which offices are they?
Steve, have you turned in all your balances?
No.
Have you turned in all your balances?
Yes.
Have you turned in all your balances? I'm drawing a blank. I saw them and it's escaped me. I should have it written down.
Well, Erica should know.
Eric will know. She can let us know.
Who are they, Erica?
Supervisor of Assessments, Health Department, Circuit Clerk, and Sheriff.
Now, my girls turn in on their time sheets.
They on their time sheet, I don't have the balances.
Well, Mary Jo says hers is correct. Stephanie's is correct.
So,
I have to talk to Carmen, because I asked them.
This sounds like an HR issue.
They said their numbers are all correct,
It's what they get paid for.
because I asked them.
We don't get paid for it.
And I write down their time on the calendar also, not just their time sheet, and I give you a copy of it. Their time sheet says vacation, how many hours of vacation, how many hours of sick, how many hours of personal, how many hours of holiday. They write all that down.
and you should.
Yes.
She needs the HR needs a beginning balance to know where to start tracking that in the payroll system.
What you have, I believe, is correct from what I've seen.
It's just a communication issue. It sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like the same thing.
HR and the department just need to communicate and work through it. That's it. That's what they get paid for.
Okay.
The department heads need to work through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a long enough meeting, guys.
Chairman, we get a letter addressed to the board from the state's attorney, we better be looking at it as the board.
It's not our job, it's HR's job.
We got a letter, did you get it from the state's attorney?
Yeah.
She's
You
bringing
can see
it to our
it.
attention, and she's saying which departments are alleged.
She just told us, Earl.
I put that on the
She just told
agenda.
us.
She was addressing the agenda item.
She's got a letter here stating why. She wants to know what the allegations are. She also wants to know what the allegations are compliance.
Now, and I still raise the question though,
She's asking it to the whole board.
but I still raise the question.
It's to the whole board.
Hang on.
I know exactly what she.
I still raise the question, Earl, though. What good does it do to establish any sort of policy if I asked for that almost 60 days ago, and there's departments that still haven't updated the HR department? How do we enforce that policy?
Tony, it's really not your position to ask for, it's HR's position to ask for. That's what their job is to do.
Okay.
That's human resources is to do.
You're talking elected officials who run their office kind of however they want to run it.
I mean, we're told all the time, we can't tell elected officials what to do.
Yeah.
But human resources is their job. It is to track all of that. And if they're not doing it, they need to have a conversation with them and figure it out.
Let's move on to item 17. I hear you. Item 17. I really feel like this agenda item is a little bit off on the wording, but basically, I'm requesting the board approve that the state's attorney be removed as the point of contact for forensic audit. Why? There was a state police investigation done into payroll, into the sheriff's department. That got handed off to the attorney general. For whatever reason, she handed that off. So,
I didn't hand them off to the judge appointed the attorney general, and the only contact I've had with the forensic auditor is to apprise the attorney general of where they're at with the audit, because they've been waiting for it. And then the comptroller's office also, because we've now missed 2 deadlines as to our annual audit. Now that auditor is waiting for the results of the forensic audit. So I'm trying to communicate with the comptroller, so hopefully the county doesn't get fined or penalized for missing 2 deadlines now. That's the only involvement I have with the forensic auditor.
this is where I got more around. I couldn't get a hold of him in April, but she talked to him numerous times.
I talk to him every month, and I get an update on where he's at prior to the county board meetings. To see, all I ask is, when do you think you'll be finished? And then he responds, like, 1 month he said, I'm doing taxes, now it's going to be after taxes. I relay that to the county board or to the public when they ask for the county board meeting.
So you did not recuse yourself from the payroll investigation of the state police?
I filed a motion that the judge granted, and he assigned the attorney general to handle the charging, review, and decision. Because I work with the sheriff's department every single day. It is not feasible for me to be reviewing criminal charges on a sheriff's department that I work with every single day. Most of our cases come from the sheriff's department. When we work together, we're on the phone 24/7, depending on what's going on. I deal with these guys all the time. So to expect me to review criminal charges against them is ludicrous.
What's the benefit of the state's arguing and receiving it? What would be the benefit?
Well, in the November meeting, when I made the motion to have the treasurer and the clerk be the points of contact, I included to make the board chair and the state's attorney post December 3rd an additional points of contact. Then when the state police report comes out, or the state police report is done, and I feel like if she's not involved with that, then what's her involvement with this? It's the same thing, just a different entity.
Sounds like she was conduit with the attorney general. She passed the information to the attorney general so that we could up.
What's the cost of these contacts? I mean, the more the merrier. If it's not gonna cost us anymore, why kick her off?
Well, right. And quite frankly, I was a little bit disheartened whenever she was in contact, but to the best of my knowledge, it was just kind of like one-offs here or there. It wasn't a group based on discussion, I'll pull this from the agenda, we'll move on. Committee reports. Done.
As part of the public building committee, we have more than one issue at the courthouse. I'm made aware that we have a safety issue in courtroom A with the carpet bubbling up and possibly causing a trip hazard to people in there. Question that sheriff contact a carpet person to see whether the carpet could be restretched. I think we've been found out that it's been stretched several times before and will probably need to be replaced. But at the present time, it's still under investigation, and so I get bring this to the board's attention that they may be forced to re-carpet or pre-lay.
Do you have any figures?
No figures, no nothing. I requested the sheriff, if in fact they say we need to replace it, I requested that he get 3 different prices from carpet people, and if it exceeds the bid number, then we'll have to submit it to bids. If not, we'll probably bring it to the board. If it's under that, just to make it public what's going on.
There's a reason why you don't have last month and now
Probably cost, and everything else, cost and noise.
and if it gets wet, safety.
Carpet is all just. Sean.
This is something that I know Judge Arlo has talked about before, so she's been concerned about the trip hazard in there. And they've stretched it, they've stretched it, and then the seams have come up undone. And now they're worried that, and they're seeing that the glue is actually not holding the roof down. So we'll get there on it. I think the Tim Culberson at the courthouse is recommending that we possibly put, and this is what the rough guy said the last time that he was there, is to start putting the squares down on the floor, so that way whenever we start having certain aspects of the floor start to mess up, we don't have to remove all 4, we start with the squares. So that's what I'm going to work on, trying to get an estimate for you guys to get that road taken care of. It looks like we'll probably more so on the floor of the courtroom do the square thing, and then that measure going towards the judges, that would probably be rough, but on the floor it'd probably be squares. I'll get all that too.
I don't know how many of you are aware, but the elevator was broken last month. It was broken again this week. It's tax collection. When our elevator's down, and I know that it's a situation that nobody in here can help because it's old, but we have people attempting to climb the stairs who have no business trying to climb the stairs. And I'm going to tell you, if something doesn't happen when the elevator is out of order, we are going to have a tragic accident from somebody falling down those stairs. So I don't know what we can do with that elevator or what we can do when the elevator's out of order, but we need to start thinking about that soon.
We use COVID money on it?
I just lost bellwether.
This was just a fuse that went out this time.
Just this time.
That's all it was, just a fuse that went out.
But that elevator, that's the standard right now. It's small, and when we change elevators, we've got to go up to one that is approved by the municipal act, and that's going to be possibly moving into a different wall at that same time. They money.
We're gonna have to do it sometime. We're gonna have to do it sometime.
Well, and I know on the property committee, we looked at exterior elevators on the outside of the building, most of them discourage it. But it's not going to be a quick fix, and the old one is giving us more trouble.
What's in behind the elevator shaft? Like when you're looking at the doors, what's behind it?
That's where the controls are, the electrical panel back in that little closet. There's a lot expand. We're talking about moving it to the blank wall to the left of the elevator as you walk up to it. One approach. But,
they got no storage, but
That would be my election room. Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that.
In my store.
If you want to cross the square footage could be exchanged, is that a possibility, or is that pretty much bigger than, the tunnel, basically?
We'll talk about that.
Maybe nicer.
we have a board that shape of the elevator. Well, I know.
Committee reports. Yeah.
I don't know if y'all know, most of you should, we got the stretch interstate on 57. Brad brought it up, he's been called down there more than once on the interstate. He's gotta go to the road, heavy him to get on. It's a hazard for him to go down there. We don't have enough deputies shut the interstate down. So I we can and ask them if they would shut the roads down for Brad to get called out. And they said, absolutely not. So I said, he absolutely won't be there unless you call. So he's not going over there anymore. I got hold of Sean, let him know. If Brad gets dispatched, he don't go unless District 10 calls.
And District 10 is the state police office.
Correct.
Is that or so? I think that's a very wise solution. Committee reports.
The EMA committee met the other last night, and we had 3 resumes. We reviewed all 3 resumes, and we narrowed it down to 1 individual. We're going to meet with him on the next, the 15th at 6 o'clock at the sheriff's office.
What's this for?
Email director.
EMA president.
And then hopefully, at the August meeting, the EMA committee will make a recommendation to move forward with the candidate.
Legislative committees, contract negotiations still going forward. Nicole's been doing a great job keeping us posted on what's happening, where it's happening, and what time it's happening. Put up with some very frank text messages to me because I was thinking I was missing something and I wasn't. But we just started that FOP today. And,
Today's gonna go so long.
yeah, Gary, but now I have both of them going, and everybody's been very cooperative, accommodating. There's still been a few that I've missed, but he's been a great job keeping me updated on what's going on.
Yes.
Some of the Board of Appeals met last week and approved again the 3 that we had on, but hopefully they'll be on the agenda. Get approved county board next month. See, we have a special meeting for it.
So you don't want to have a special meeting for it?
I don't see any need themselves. They all seem to be together. No one showed up with the gun shop owner, and he said he's got a 2-month extension on the FYD or the federal license, so I think the others are already operating anyhow.
That was going to be part of my chairman updates was asked for a special, with the budget and everybody's here to call for a special meeting to get those resolutions approved. Understanding that the extension was made, I just still want to push to get those through, but if the extension is sufficient, we'll put those on for the August meeting. Any other committees?
The airport, everything's flat out.
That's good. I think I've gone through everything I need to as far as chairman updates. Chairman appointments, I'd like to start out with Dr. Rachel Lake to the County Health Board. I entertain a motion to appoint Dr. Rachel Lake to the County Health Board.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I've got a motion by Barb, second by Earl. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. I entertain a motion to appoint Rich Reynolds to the county health board.
Yeah.
Kenny Barr makes a motion, I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Entertain a motion to appoint Aaron Grubauer to the county health board. Danny Durnovich makes the motion. Barb seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. I've got, we'll do these separately. Richard Harley as trustee for Drainage District 1 in Pickaway in Todds Point Township. Motion by Don Tate.
I'll second.
Second by Mark Bennett. Any discussion? Discussion?
Are these, how long is their term?
That I don't know.
Their terms, and this is the problem when you get small drainage districts that don't have an attorney. These terms should be staggered, but I don't know if that's how they submit the paperwork.
No, that's the way they're supposed to do it. The problem out here, we could appoint them if it was temporary position until September. We cannot appoint them for 3 years until September. The first Tuesday of September, 30 days after. So, kind of sort of what you're asking us to do here is kind of illegal if it's 3 years. So we really need to know if it's 3 years or is it?
They don't have any term limits on there. I mean, if you want to do, I mean, they left their time period blank. So if you just wanted to appoint them each for a year, then they can figure
We
this
can't
out.
appoint for a year. We could appoint until September.
You know what? I guess what needs to happen is the chairman or the state's attorney is gonna have to write the drainage district a letter because their terms have long since been expired. Robert Bridgman was appointed, these two, you know, and that's what I say, when these districts don't have attorneys, this is the kind of stuff that happens.
Right, I understand that.
So,
We as
right.
a board need to do it right too. We can follow the
So,
statute
you
as
know,
well.
I would say table these two and perhaps Nicole can write them an attorney and or write them a letter on behalf of the county board and they can either get their stuff together and do these appointments in September or,
If there's a vacancy, the chairman can appoint someone, but their term only goes until the first Tuesday of September. That's what you're trying to say, right, Jeff?
and that's what this says. I mean, they didn't put any time period in. It said term ending the first Tuesday of September.
If you want to appoint until September, that's fine, but they're appointed until September and that's it.
Well, the way this,
So it may be.
the way this reads, now therefore it is ordered that Richard Harley is hereby appointed as service commissioner for said district for the blank year,
Statutes.
and then said term ending the first Tuesday of September of that year. So if we fill in the years this year, then that would be appropriate.
To appoint until September.
Well, yeah, because it says,
We can appoint them tonight till September, but they're going to have to file again or ask for appointment again in September.
They've got it written that it's at least 1 year, which is wrong. It's that it can only go up until the first Tuesday of September since you're filling a vacancy. So I can assist with rewriting that. What Jeff said is correct.
right. Okay, so I'll make a motion to table these appointments. Second? Second. Pat Mike seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And, motion the board request that Nicole sends a letter to the drainage district to solve these issues. I'll make a motion. Gary seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Get the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start on the county board committee appointments. I'd like to appoint Paul Candidate to the EMA committee. Can I get a second? I'd like to make a motion to appoint Paul to the EMA committee. And and Denny seconds. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Glenn Williams to zoning. Can I get a second? Barb Bennett seconds. Did we vote on the first one?
Nope.
Sorry. Sorry. All in favor of all candidates for EMA, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And that will complete. I made a motion, Bart seconded, Lynn Williams to zoning. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark Bennett to purchasing.
Question on that. Where's the vacancy for purchasing?
Vacancy on purchasing is John Poe, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Okay. One more.
I'll make a motion to approve.
John is chairman, so are you making a motion to replace the chairman?
Right, so Mark is replacing John as chairman, and then that was, where was he? That's just a community member. Animal control, see, animal control be, Gary Patterson back in Terry's position.
But you would be chairman
Oh, yes, I did. This is, yeah, this one. So, Mark Bennett, motion to chair of the committee by Jeff. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Question. How many zone purchasing?
Seven.
Why is everything on now?
There's a bit that goes into that every month. All the bills get reviewed every month, and they takes, and if you have one or two missing, you still have more, we get to have a meeting. That's one more, I mean, that's, all right, so now to Gary Patterson, I'd like to,
Are we gonna vote on it?
all in favor of Mark Bennett's purchasing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I'd like to, I'd like to nominate Gary Patterson to animal control as chairman. Jeff Seifert makes the motion. I got Lynn Williams second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess since I'm brand new on that, can we legally make somebody who's already got experience the chairman and just be added to the committee? Can we do that? Okay, I would like to do that. I'd like to be on that committee, but I don't want to start out as chairman.
I mean, if you had 11 months, you're.
Yeah, Jeff would be the most
Yeah,
senior.
okay.
That's Robert, he might.
Period, Bart. Bob Simpson would be the most senior, wouldn't he?
I'm the least senior. I don't know any of that.
So,
Bobby asked Robert first. Robert, don't want to like that.
Robert, would you accept the position as chair of that committee? So, Robert be chair. I'd like to make a motion that Robert Simpson be chair of the committee, seconded by Greg or Gary. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Should we vote on Gary now? And then, motion.
You already had the motion.
Yeah, you got the
Slifer and then Williams was the motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Last on the list is I'd like to nominate, or I'd like to appoint Teresa Banks to the insurance committee.
Yes.
Barb Bennett makes the motion, Jesse seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Moving on. In correspondences, I have the Correspondences, I have a registration reminder for the annual conference from UCCI. There's an annual conference July 26th and 27th at Galena. I think some of you've been there. So, is this having a, this doesn't have any effect on our insurance, so that's a bit. Okay. So anyway, just put that out there, the flyers up here, if anybody's interested.
Bobby, it's kind of nice that someone from the board shows our county's represented. You know, Ben Williams has been on the board. We talked about it, so it might be a good one to go as a representative from this county. Unless somebody else would like to go. I mean, you have a lot of, kind of a good time, I think it was also a good meeting, and lots of information.
And it's, looking for a fee on here.
I think they covered it.
UCCI covers it.
I think they covered it. If I read that flyer right.
So here's the flyer and the registration paper. Okay, so send that over to you.
But everybody will see this via email, so.
Thank you.
Let's see, I have a letter here from the FOP. This is to formal notice of demand and bargain. So, and that was dated a while back. That is all started, so all okay, approval of the payment of claims. The purchasing, anything from the purchasing committee on the approval of the claims?
They were approved.
See like everybody that looks at claims, law enforcement, road and bridge, purchasing, health, everybody.
Barb makes the motion to approve the claims. Second. Don takes seconds. We'll take a roll call.
Earl Baker. Yes. Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Carl Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Banks. Yes. Paul Candy. Yes. Brian Hoffman.
Yes.
Dennis Durbin.
Yes.
Jesse Durbin.
Yes.
Gary Durbin.
Yes.
Ron Wright.
Yes.
Larry Lynn.
Yes.
Michael Klein.
Yes.
Bobby Norman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
John Poe.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Jeff Slifer.
Yes.
David Swift.
Yep.
Ron Page.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 24 is public body comment. Any remaining public body comment?
Very quick, is everybody, have any stuff's been done to replace the county engineer since he's retiring? I mean,
The
you know,
road-
it is, as a job posting, you know, as a
Road-
job post or whatever.
Road and Bridge just notified, what, Friday? So Road and Bridge will be working on that, I'm sure that'll be kind of the forefront of their brains. So it's just in the infancy stages of replacement. John?
Real quick, to follow up that question, since I hadn't heard Earl Baker mention it in a couple of months, I'm going to follow up on his questions. I've watched the county employee use the public resources for private purposes for the last 10 years, and I'm sort of sick of it. And I've asked, and Earl's asked, and I'm trying to get information about what the FBI is doing in the investigation of our employee. Are we going to go on until he leaves and then try to go after him and prosecute him? Or what has the FBI done or anybody done, Earl? I'm really frustrated with this. I know other people are too.
Investigative agencies don't update the status of their investigations as they're ongoing. I mean, they keep it private. If they need assistance from a prosecutor, they go to a prosecutor for that, but they had the case before I got into office. It's still under investigation. I always check before the county board meetings, and they reiterated it's still under investigation, but they don't even tell me what the details of it.
We can't get any feedback from anybody about this at all.
not when it's an ongoing investigation.
I just think it's sad. We've seen this go on for years, and the money he's made on the side using our resources, and we can't do a thing about it, and he's gonna walk out the door in a couple months.
Well, they will complete their investigation and then we will be updated. They just don't do that while it's ongoing. They're still interviewing witnesses and reviewing documents, I presume.
Did he give any kind of timeline at all?
They have not. I asked for one. I did ask them for one.
One, I'd like to say I think he's bringing out the point about the avenue that will be looking under a union contract, are very much appreciated, and we should be following that contract. As taxpaying citizens, when those contracts aren't followed, and employees are being paid for time that has not been accrued, earned, or provided to them through that contractual language, it's a fleecing of all of us. So thank you for bringing that up. I wish it would have been heard a little bit louder, but I think it was heard, because that should be governed whether employees are being paid, when their holidays, it's accrued vacation, and all that stuff. Secondly, to the point that the alleged insurance fraud, not just the term alleged, the county is self-funded. What that means is it's taxpayer dollars that are paying those insurance claims. You guys aren't tendering premiums over to an insurance company that's then turning around and paying the claims. It's taxpayer money that's paying that. So when your insurance agent tells you that there are all kinds of signs of fraud, and I've heard people say, well, then why doesn't the insurance company go after her? We're not covered by an insurance company. If we were paying premiums to an insurance company and these things were going on, I guarantee you the insurance company can go get the money that's owed back to them. But they don't fight on our behalf because we are self-funded. If you all, and Nicole, I'm going to address you specifically because I know you received a letter from the treasurer asking you to look into that. We, all of us out here, are counting on you to protect us. And I believe it to be a dereliction of duty when you're asked to do an investigation and you're in your capacity as state's attorney and you want to pass it off to a committee. I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's fair to any of us. And to Mr. Swift, yeah, you have an HR department, it's the treasurer's department, but she's been fighting for almost 3 years trying to get department heads to turn in the time cards with accurate information on them, and she just as well beat her head against that wall. That's why she's coming to this board to get your support to help her do that. And if it's so easy, maybe that's a department you should run for and take over it. You know, maybe they'll listen to you, maybe it's just because it's her, I don't know.
Well, prosecutors are not investigators. That's not my job. Someone investigates allegations, they bring it to me, and then I see if there's a criminal charge or a civil proceeding.
You don't send it back to a committee, you determine which direction that should go, correct?
I have been asked to look at it from a civil perspective. The prudent course of action, in my opinion, is to take it to the insurance committee for fact-finding, to include the insurance expert, see what he says, reach a conclusion, take it to the county board. If the facts are there, I will pursue it. But
And you got that email in March, and here we are in July. That email came to you in March, and we've kicked the can down the road,
Yes, and the jail is full. I've been doing a lot of things for this county, and you've heard why there has been a delay with this.
I will tell you, thank you, absolutely. Thank you for what you're doing to prosecute, you know, DUIs, drug crimes, sex, all that. Thank you. It does make our community safer. But we are not safer when there is internal abuse and fraud, waste, misallocation of funds of taxpayer dollars. That is still crime, and I just like to see that taken as seriously as some of the other crimes.
It will be addressed like everything else.
But I like to say, we're all taxpayers on the county board also, so we're aware of this stuff, Mark. And it's like, if people out there in the community, I mean, they can go to each of their representatives. We all have different districts. If we got people who come to us from our district, we're going to maybe get on board with something a little bit more. But to come here and attack everybody, you know, together, and I'm waiting on Travis, and I apologize. It was my fault. This probably got delayed because my husband died, and I wasn't able to come to the meetings. So I apologize for that. But we're doing the best we can on this, but I want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row, because I don't want any kind of lawsuit. We have enough lawsuits the way it is.
And Mark, I can appreciate that. And it's not an attack. It's not an attack. You can take
I feel like the time is
you have group of people here that come to these meetings.
Anyway, less dialogue, this public body comment, please. David.
David being called on.
David.
If I want to get brought up, I'll understand myself, if that's okay.
Just needs
It just takes longer. Well, I don't care, I'm gonna make a point. If the HR department doesn't want to do their job, and we voted, when I came on this board, to give them the office, the HR department. As a board, we voted to give the treasurer's department the HR. If they do not want to do it, resign from the HR department, and we will hire an HR department that wants to do it, and we will give it to someone else. The human resources is human resources, and it needs to be done, period.
And it's not that she doesn't want to do it.
I'm just
So,
telling you,
just to
it's
clarify
their
that.
department, they need to do it. That's what they get paid for. We don't get paid to do it.
So I guess the question is, what are we gonna do to make them do their job?
Head of the department.
We did
They've been doing their job.
We did it, we made the vote, we did it, we did what we were supposed to do.
If they're not doing their job, not what you just sit on their hands as a board.
Find an HR department that'll enforce it.
That's your job. You know, it's not our job.
All right, guys. That's enough. Any other public body comment? Jeremy?
Mr. Chairman, I want to say a few things. I kind of want to echo what Martha said about the taxpayer deserves to hear in a public meeting about what their money's doing. You are all taxpayers too. You're right. And Barb, you don't have to apologize for anything about not being able to attend those meetings. That's completely understandable. But if there's emails out there chronicling who's following the policy and who's not, and my tax dollars are paying for that, then that needs to come out in an open meeting. That needs to be public. And I'm sure that a FOIA would be good, but why don't you practice a little transparency with people and just make it open anyway? We elect several of these department heads, and we want to know what's going on. Our tax dollars, we work hard. We all work hard. You guys work hard, we work hard. That's our tax dollars. We deserve to know what's going on. So be open, be honest, be transparent, be upfront about things. Don't make us come to you and make it like pulling teeth. We can work together. Okay? I just want to throw that out there. I know I'm how I am, but we can work together. Okay? And another thing I wasn't going to say until a few minutes ago, but we're taking some steps backwards on some things. We're missing a couple of members. Meeting's not over. Okay? That's unacceptable. That means you're not finishing your job. We've had this issue before, it stopped for a while. We need to get back to where people are staying to the end of the meeting. And I also just want to say there was a lot of meat on this bone, and we did very little of it. Some of it got tabled, some of it got pulled, some of it hardly got discussed, and some of it was big stuff. And I'm pretty disappointed that we didn't hardly do anything. We've been here almost 3.5 hours, over 3.5 hours, done almost nothing.
But see, we feel like we have, Jeremy. I mean, this is why, when they sit out there and accuse us of stuff, you know, I feel like we're doing our jobs. We're like, if I had people in my township call me and say, you're not doing your job, then I would, but I don't. I have people say, you know, stay the course.
You've known about this insurance fraud for a long, long time, and it went on for 1.5 years. And still
I didn't know about it this week.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I learned about it this week for a long time, but I didn't until this week.
You guys didn't know about it till this week.
That's exactly right.
Not making accusations.
Okay, the fact that I know about it isn't the problem. The fact that you don't know about it is the problem.
That's absolutely the problem.
I've known about this for months. This went on for over 1.5 years, and it stopped almost 1 year ago.
How come you're getting the information disseminated to you, and we're not even know the dollar figure? We didn't.
So our employees have no privacy whatsoever?
Was it $34,000 a secret?
I don't know.
I don't
know about it.
I've known it for 3 days.
It was in an email that's public document. That's how I got it.
You gotta understand that.
I got it through a simple freedom of
It
information.
also is not allowed to talk about an employee in a public meeting.
Really?
Their name hasn't been mentioned.
I can't come up with public comments and ask about it?
No.
Any other public comment? I guess we can talk about the commitments if you're not on.
Yeah, I got one. The last one. The last board meeting, it was a big deal, it's been a big deal, like somebody said, for a year about the farm and stuff, and I know it was a contentious issue, but we got through it. But what bothered me the most was right at the end, when the debate was over, Earl, I know this year, last meeting, and you and I both know that you have a habit of speaking when you're not supposed to. But you threw some derogatory, or you alluded and had innuendos to the state's attorney that she wasn't doing her job, and just to clear the air and be the gentleman, wait a minute, let me talk. And just be the gentleman that you are before you go to the state of Kentucky. I'd just like for you to apologize to her, and that'd be it.
Well, first of all, I asked what I said is I hope she spends as much time on them other things as she did in farming. That's what I said. That's exactly what I asked. I hope she spends as much time on those three issues as she did on that farm.
It was very provocative towards her, just like you were to Frank Mahoney.
Motion for adjournment.
Accusatory, so.
This is not a debate, those comment now.
There was lots of derogatory things throughout those meetings, and it all should stop, and it shouldn't have ever happened. So, I think moving on in a civil fashion would be about as much an apology to everybody, forward, back, sideways. Moving on civilly would be about as much an apology we could have.
Just one more statement, Denny, and the rest of the board. I will be back helping these other people campaign against some of them.
Anyway, public comment? Hearing none, Tom Thumb, motion to adjourn. Second, Barb, have a good one.
Gotta have the last word, don't we?